Alamak. Wait. Alamak. Oh, nampak tak? You can see me not?
Sudah terlihat iklannya.
Sudah
Oh.
nampak, Bu.
Nampak dah tu, nampak dah tu.
Aduh, panik. Okay.
Ya, sudah bisa dimulai Pak Dekan.
PowerPoint.
Yap.
Bisa kita mulai.
Ya, okey. Yap.
Baik, para hadirin, Bapak Ibu para hadirin, baik, kita akan mulai acara pagi hari ini. Selamat pagi, Bapak Ibu para hadirin yang kami hormati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa taala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa, yang telah memberikan rahmat, berkat, dan karunia-Nya kepada kita semua. Sehingga kita dapat berkumpul di ruang Zoom meeting ini dalam acara Kuliah Umum Seri 2 dengan tema Morphological Syntactic Knowledge and its Contribution to Computational Linguistics yang diselenggarakan oleh Program Studi Magister Ilmu Linguistik, Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, Universitas Sumatera Utara pada hari ini, Kamis 22 April 2021. Mencari timba si anak dara, di bawah sarang burung tempua. Salam sembah pembuka bicara, selamat datang untuk semua. Sebelum kita mulai acara pagi hari ini, kami segenap panitia Kuliah Umum Seri 2 mengucapkan selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa Ramadan 1442 Hijriah bagi yang menjalankannya. Semoga Ramadan ini selalu membawa berkah kepada kita semua. Selanjutnya, kami ucapkan selamat datang kepada yang terhormat Bapak Dr. Budi Agustono MS, selaku Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Selamat datang, Bapak.
Ya, selamat datang. Terima kasih.
Yang terhormat Wakil Dekan 1, 2, dan 3 Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Telah hadir bersama kita yang terhormat Bapak Dr. Edi Setia, M.Ed.Tespi, selaku Ketua Program Studi Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Selamat datang, Bapak.
Terima kasih.
Telah hadir pula yang terhormat Ibu Dr. Tengku Tirhaya Zen, MA, selaku Sekretaris Program Studi Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Selamat datang, Mem.
Terima kasih.
Telah hadir pula bersama kita yang terhormat Bapak Dr. Mulyadi M. Hum, selaku Sekretaris Program Studi Dr. Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Selamat datang, Bapak.
Terima kasih.
Telah hadir bersama kita yang terhormat Ibu Dr. Radia Yusof dari School of Humanities, University Science of Malaysia, selaku pembicara Kuliah Umum Seri 2. Selamat datang Ibu Dr. Radia.
Terima kasih. Selamat datang.
Telah hadir pula yang terhormat Bapak Rahmat Syahrangkuti, MA PhD, selaku moderator pada kegiatan Kuliah Umum Seri 2 pada hari ini. Selamat datang kami ucapkan.
Thank you.
Yang terhormat Bapak Ibu dosen Program Studi Ilmu Linguistik dan dosen Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Dan tak lupa pula kami ucapkan selamat datang kepada rekan mahasiswa S3, S2, dan S1, serta seluruh peserta yang turut hadir pada acara Kuliah Umum Seri 2 pagi hari ini. Terima kasih kami ucapkan. Selanjutnya, kita mulai acara pada pagi hari ini. Acara pertama yaitu kata sambutan yang akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Program Studi Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Kepada Bapak Dr. Edi Setia, M.Ed Tespi, kami persilakan dengan segala hormat.
Baik, terima kasih kepada saudara tamu acara. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Yang saya hormati Bapak Dekan, Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, Bapak Dr. Kuliah MS. Yang saya hormati Bapak Wakil Dekan 1, Bapak Profesor Mauli Purba MA PhD. Dan yang saya hormati Wakil Dekan 2, Ibu Dr. Herstina Dewi MPD. Dan yang saya hormati Bapak Warik 3, Bapak Profesor Dr. Iwanuddin Aston MSc. Dan yang saya sangat hormati pada pagi hari ini, tamu kita, dosen kuliah umum, Ibu Dr. Radia Yusuf dari Magister, dari USM. Dan yang saya hormati para dosen, mahasiswa S2, S3, S1, dan juga para peserta yang ikut hadir dalam acara kuliah umum Seri 2 pada pagi hari ini. Pertama sekali kita ucapkan syukur alhamdulillah kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa taala yang telah memberikan kesehatan, keafiatan sehingga kita dapat hadir pada acara ini. Salawat dan salam kehadirat Nabi kita Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam yang telah membawa kita dari zaman kegelapan ke zaman yang terang benderang sampai pada saat ini. Bapak Ibu sekalian, para peserta kuliah umum Seri 2, topik yang kita bawa pada pagi hari ini, saya pikir merupakan topik kajian yang sangat-sangat relevan dengan perkembangan linguistik pada saat ini, yaitu berkaitan dengan morfologi, sintaksis, dikaitkan dengan linguistik korpus. Ini suatu kajian yang cukup menantang bagi para mahasiswa kita semua. Seperti kita ketahui bahwa morfologi, sintaksis itu merupakan dua bagian kajian linguistik yang tak terpisahkan. Tanpa morfologi sebagai kajian struktur bahasa, struktur kata khususnya, dan sintaksis sebagai struktur kalimat, tanpa kedua bidang itu sebuah bahasa tidak disebut suatu bahasa. Nah, kajian morfologi dan sintaksis, Bapak Ibu sekalian, seperti kita ketahui, dapat dikaji, dianalisis dari berbagai pendekatan, terutama morfologi dari struktural, generatif, tipologi, sintaksis juga demikian, dikaji secara tipologi, generatif, dan struktural, bahkan secara fungsional. Nah, kajian-kajian seperti itu merupakan kajian yang sangat menarik bagi para mahasiswa kita, mahasiswa S2, S3 linguistik, dan juga mahasiswa S1 yang tertarik dalam bidang linguistik untuk membedahnya lebih dalam, melihat kajian-kajian itu lebih keren lagi. Banyak penelitian-penelitian yang sudah dilakukan di dunia ini berkaitan dengan sintaksis dan morfologi secara theoretical linguistik, dan sekarang pada pagi ini kita akan melihat, kita akan mendengarkan sebuah kajian baru bahwa morfologi dan sintaksis merupakan suatu sumber kajian yang akan dikaitkan dengan kajian korpus linguistik atau linguistik korpus. Linguistik korpus pada saat ini juga banyak dikaji oleh para ahli di dunia, dan ini juga merupakan, kalau boleh saya pakai istilah Pak Dekan, sebagai nutrisi lah bagi mahasiswa kita untuk membedah lebih dalam yang dikaitkan nanti dengan penulisan tesis atau disertasi atau bahkan jurnal-jurnal, artikel yang akan dikirim ke jurnal, bahwa kajian korpus linguistik dikaitkan dengan morfologi, sintaksis ini sangat berpeluang besar untuk bisa dikaji secara mendalam. Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya pikir ini yang perlu kita cermati sebagai tambahan ilmu pengetahuan dasar dan bahkan pengetahuan yang sekarang lagi berkembang dalam kajian-kajian linguistik kontemporer. Mudah-mudahan apa yang diberikan nanti oleh Ibu Radia akan bisa mendapat sambutan bagi kita semua, agar kita akan bisa melakukan tulisan-tulisan ilmiah yang berkaitan dengan itu. Bapak Ibu sekalian, terima kasih ya atas kehadiran dan dalam keberlangsungan kuliah umum ini. Mudah-mudahan ilmu yang akan kita dapatkan bisa diaplikasikan ke depan. Baik, demikian saja. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Ketua Program Studi Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara, Bapak Dr. Edi Setia MFSP, atas kata sambutan yang diberikan. Acara selanjutnya yaitu kata sambutan, sekaligus kami mohon dengan segala hormat untuk membuka secara resmi kuliah umum seri 2 pada pagi hari ini yang akan disampaikan oleh Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Kepada yang terhormat Bapak Dr. Budi Agustono MS, kami persilakan dengan segala hormat.
Terima kasih Ibu Bapak yang kami hormati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua yang kami hormati Bapak Ketua Program Studi S3 Linguistik Pak Edi Setia, Pak Mulyadi Sekretaris, dan juga Ibu Tira sebagai Sekretaris di Prodi Linguistik, dan juga kepada moderator dan juga kepada yang kami hormati Ibu Radiah Yusuf dari Sains Malaysia, dan juga yang pada hari ini akan bersama kita untuk berdiskusi tentang tema yang diusung Prodi Doktor Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya USU, Morphological Syntactic Knowledge and its Contribution to Computational Linguistics. Terima kasih Ibu Radiah Yusuf yang sudah bergabung di Zoom ini, dan juga kepada para guru besar, kolega saya dari berbagai universitas dan dari Fakultas Ilmu Budaya juga USU, lalu kemudian pada mahasiswa S1, S2 dan studi doktoral yang sudah bersama pada pagi hari ini untuk mendengarkan, untuk mendiskusikan apa yang akan substansi atau materi yang disampaikan oleh Dr. Radiah Yusuf. Ibu Bapak sekalian, ya tentu kita senang pada hari ini bisa kembali bersama Universitas Sains Malaysia, terutama Ibu Radiah Yusuf, untuk bertemu kembali untuk untuk berbagi pengetahuan. Tentu ini menjadi dasar terus memperkuat relasi antara Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara dan USM Penang Malaysia. Ya, semoga kegiatan ini bisa terus terbangun, ya tidak hanya pada program studi doktor linguistik, tapi juga nantinya ya bisa menyebar ke prodi-prodi lain. Nah, sehingga dengan demikian bisa kita saling mencharger, bisa saling mencas pengetahuan, memperbarui pengetahuan yang terkait dengan bidangnya masing-masing. Ibu Bapak sekalian, dengan ini kami dari Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara membuka resmi serial diskusi kedua program studi Doktor Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Semoga serial diskusi ini workshop ini bisa memberikan pemikiran baru tentang bidang yang akan kita bahas nantinya. Terima kasih. Selamat bersedaring. Billahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Bapak Dr. Budi Agustuno MS selaku Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara yang telah memberikan kata sambutan sekaligus membuka secara resmi kuliah umum seri 2 pada pagi hari ini. Terima kasih sekali lagi kami ucapkan. Sebelum kita masuk ke acara utama, yaitu pemaparan dari pembicara kuliah umum seri 2 pada pagi hari ini, kita akan berfoto sejenak. Untuk itu, kami mohon dengan segala hormat, kesediaan dan kerjasama dari seluruh peserta untuk dapat mengaktifkan kamera videonya masing-masing karena kita akan mengabadikan momen yang sangat berharga ini. Sesuai dengan aba-aba dan instruksi dari saya, dengan hitungan mundur, mohon memberikan senyum terbaik Anda karena kita akan mengabadikan foto Bapak Ibu sekalian. Ada 8 halaman, akan dimulai dari halaman pertama. Dimohon untuk membuka kameranya masing-masing. Panitia bersiap-siap. Baik, untuk halaman pertama dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik, terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu. Kita lanjut ke halaman kedua. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu. Lanjut ke halaman ketiga. Kita abadikan momen ini dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu. Lanjut ke halaman keempat. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik, terima kasih. Kita lanjut ke halaman kelima. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik. Lanjut ke halaman ke-6. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu. Lanjut ke halaman ke-7. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik. Dan halaman terakhir ke-8. Dalam hitungan 3, 2, 1. Baik, terima kasih kami ucapkan kepada seluruh peserta. Terima kasih kami ucapkan atas kerjasamanya yang telah diberikan sehingga kita dapat mengabadikan momen yang sangat berharga ini. Acara selanjutnya yaitu pemaparan dari pembicara Ibu Dr. Radia Yusof dari School of Humanities, University Science of Malaysia, dan sesi ini akan dipandu oleh moderator Bapak Rahmat Syah Rangkuti, MA PhD. Kepada Bapak kami persilakan dengan segala hormat.
Baiklah, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hari yang cerah ini, acara sudah dibuka. Pembawa acara yang begitu bersemangat membuat kita mengikuti kuliah umum yang kedua ini pun mudah-mudahan bersemangat juga. Kita berharap mudah-mudahan melalui kuliah umum yang kedua ini, penambahan ilmu, khazanah ilmu kita bertambah. Oleh karena itu, mari sama-sama kita berserah diri kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa, agar kiranya ilmu yang kita dapatkan pada hari ini bermanfaat dan mendapat berkah ridho dari Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Allahumma zidna ilman warzuqna fahman. Para peserta kuliah umum yang kedua yang kami hormati, berdasarkan rundown acara yang kami terima, maka sebelum acara ini kita mulai, terlebih dahulu kami berharap kepada para peserta untuk pertama menonaktifkan audionya atau mic-nya selama mendengarkan pemaparan dari narasumber yaitu Ibu Dr. Radiah Yusuf. Selanjutnya pertanyaan yang nanti bisa diberikan bisa dituliskan di kolom chat yang ada di bawah. Dan berdasarkan rundown yang ada pada kami, insya Allah nanti ada 2 sesi pertanyaan yang kita buka. Oleh karena itu, demi tertibnya acara ini, kami berharap mari sama-sama kita mematuhi aturan yang sudah ditetapkan panitia guna terselenggaranya kegiatan acara ini. Bapak Ibu para peserta yang kami hormati, terutama narasumber kita Dr. Radiah Yusuf. Mohon maaf kami Dr. Radiah Yusuf bila mana mungkin ada beberapa hal dalam membacakan CV yang kurang berkenan karena memang nampaknya secara pribadi saya juga kurang mengerti beberapa hal. Mungkin nanti bisa Ibu Dr. Radiah Yusuf jelaskan di sini. Maka ingin saya perkenalkan pembicara kita pada hari ini adalah Dr. Radiah Yusuf. Beliau adalah bertugas di Pusat Pengajian Ilmu Kemanusiaan University Sains Malaysia Pulau Penang. Jawatan beliau saat ini adalah satu sebagai pensyarah kanan. Mohon maaf saya juga kurang begitu, nanti mungkin Ibu Dokter bisa menjelaskan apa yang dimaksud dengan pensyarah kanan ini. Yang kedua sebagai pengerusi bahagian linguistik bahasa Melayu, Pusat Pengajian Ilmu Kemanusiaan University Sains Malaysia. Pendidikan beliau yang telah beliau lalui, beliau menyelesaikan BA, Bachelor of Art in English dari Texas A&M University di tahun 1986. Selanjutnya beliau menyelesaikan Master of Art English with Concentration on ESL di tahun 1988 dari University of North Texas. Di tahun 1996 beliau menyelesaikan PhD beliau di bidang linguistik dari University Science Malaysia. Sejauh ini beliau sudah melakukan penyelidikan sebagai penyelidik utama dengan beberapa karyanya yang kami rasa menunjukkan kemampuan beliau. Di antaranya adalah bentuk panggilan dan sapaan oleh anggota polis diraja Malaysia yang bertugas di Ibu Pejabat Polis Diraja Malaysia di perangkat daerah, negeri dan pusat, pengubah suaian pendekatan analisis perbuatan Have, Wilkinson, dan Beatty et al. Untuk menganalisis gangguan bahasa dalam kalangan pesakit kecederaan otak trauma. Selanjutnya, pembinaan glosari dwi bahasa, bahasa Melayu, bahasa Inggris, melalui fasa utama dalam bidang sintaksis nahu generatif X per kalam, dan selepasnya, analisis pembentukan dalam bahasa Melayu dari bahasa Inggris. Ditambah lagi, beliau juga sudah melaksanakan penyelidikan sebagai penyelidik bersama. Yang kalau kita bacakan mungkin acara ini nggak akan selesai hanya sekedar membacakan ini. Jadi kami berharap latar belakang yang beliau miliki ini sudah bisa menunjukkan, merepresentasikan bahwasanya beliau adalah orang yang patut dan orang yang layak untuk menjadi narasumber kita pada pagi hari ini, di mana pada pagi hari ini kita akan berbagi ilmu dengan beliau di bidang morphological synthetic knowledge and contribution computational linguistic. Untuk tidak lagi memperpanjang kalam dari kami selaku moderator, maka kami persilahkan kepada yang kita hormati Dr. Radiah Yusuf untuk memulai pemaparannya. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Radiah Yusuf.
Terima kasih Tuan Moderator. Saya sedang maaf kalau saya lambat ni sebab saya tak mahir, jadi saya sedang mencari share screen. Kat mana? Oh, screen. Okay. Share. Okay. Okay. Kenapa ni? Okay. Yang pertama sekali saya boleh nampak kan? Boleh nampak tak? Sudah.
Boleh, boleh.
Okay. Saya harus mengucapkan berbanyak-banyak terima kasih dan penghargaan yang amat tinggi sekali lah kepada Universitas Sumatera Utara khususnya baru saya sedar yang Dr. Budi ni ialah Pak Budi. bila Tagri dengar baru perasan ini Pak Budi yang pernah jumpa hari itu. Okey. Kepada Dr. Budi Agustus, Dr. Eddie Setia, Dr. Rahmat Shah. Kalau dosen tu saya rasa pensyarah Dr. Tasnim dan pelajar yang saya jumpa semalam. Kemudian kepada of course-nya Tira lah yang memulakan perjalanan ini untuk saya berkongsi ilmu tak banyak lah, sikit bila saya dengar Pak Budi kata tadi tu saya pun naik gentar kerana expectation-nya is quite high. Sedangkan saya mungkin you'll see what I'll be sharing. And of course untuk USM Prof Datuk Dr. Narima Samad yang sekarang ini ialah TNC Akademik dan Antarabangsa, pemangku dekan Dr. Jasni Sulong dan juga timbalan dekan research iaitu Dr. Goh Sang Siong dan bahagian saya sendiri. Dan saya juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih sebelum saya mula kepada semua para hadirin yang hadir untuk wacana hari ini pagi ini. Okey. So kalau saya slow tu minta maaf, saya sedang if I go too fast sebab semalam pelajar bagi tahu yang I tend to go and speak rather fast. So just unmute and then tell me to slow down. Okay, Tira please Tira. Okay, dan of course saya kena ucapkan terima kasih kepada Sifu Malay Linguistik saya because tadi if you were to listen to my CV, I graduated for my masters and for my undergraduate from in English. So when I came back to USM, I have to relearn, especially the proper grammar of Malay. So I feel indebted to all the names that you can see on my on the screen at the moment, especially the one on your left, because they kind of like directly influence and also show me what Malay language, the grammar itself. Okay, because I have problem with the Malay grammar in terms of the way Tata Bahasa Dewan and all prescriptive grammar, especially. Okay. Now these are the main references that I'll be using. We'll be looking at not really looking, but I'll be touching some of the stuff from Tata Bahasa Dewan, or I call it TBD, and then Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir by Prof Asma, Pelita Bahasa a bit from Pandita Zakbar, and morphology from Prof Abdullah Hassan, who's also my supervisor for my PhD studies. Okay, now let me start with my the journey, how I'm so interested into anything related to computational linguistics, although I'm not, I can't do any programming whatsoever. I try to learn from Dr. Zahra Ghafoor, but I fail. Dr. Zahra Ghafoor is one of the individuals that really involved with both computer science and also linguistics. So she can do both programming, and also she can also describe the language as a linguist. So she kind of have, she has this ability to bridge the two worlds of linguistics and computer science. Okay, and then so just join me in my journey at how I started to dig or to kind of look at why we the linguists, especially the linguists, and also I don't know, language teachers, language lecturers can get involved. Okay, can get involved with those people, those individuals in science, like computer science or engineering, because engineering, I'm not so sure another one is what the name is, they have so many names. Okay, computer science, engineering, and then what else? But one thing for sure is that you can look up under natural language processing or anything that use language, be it visual or non-visual, text or non-text. Okay, so I started this one when I tried to find a way, because I love free stuff, and the minute the internet is on, I'm able to search using Alta Vista, Yahoo, and now Google. So the first thing I did was to search something that I can use to draw the tree diagram. So you can see the output from the tree, from the stuff that I found, namely Iron Creek. Okay, so when I find this, I figure out how. I just want to know how Iron Creek, in this case it's PHP syntax tree Iron Creek, how does this thing work? And so I began to look at the platform and see what happens. Okay, what really involved in allowing me to draw. You can see that the one in English is the original, and the one in Malay is, I kind of like using paradigmatic relations. I kind of changed just the word and also the notes. Okay, so you can see S is for sentence, A ayat, and P frasa nama, frasa kerja, and then V is K, blah 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 lah. Okay, and then these are some of the examples that I managed to draw, and you can have a look at my blog on how I use Iron Creek to draw some of the stuff, and they are, and I also figure out on how to manipulate. You have to really understand the platform to understand on how to use it so that you can produce the diagram, the tree diagram that you want. So you have to really look at it. If not, you'll find stuff that you're supposed to have a phrase, but the tree will produce, instead of a phrase, it will produce just a word. So you have to manipulate the platform. Okay, and then if you really want to know on how, I'm not so sure how many of you know. I bet quite a number of you know, especially the young ones, because they tend to Google or search in YouTube. I'm sure they find out about on how to draw. Ramai tak yang tahu Iron Creek ni? Nanti sebab saya tanda, because I do not want to underestimate you guys. So I think the young ones, if I can find it, definitely the young ones can find it. So but in case you have no idea how, you can always Google, and they on YouTube there are some examples on how to draw the tree diagrams using Iron Creek. Okay, free platform. Okay, and then something happened. Okay, when I search for Iron Creek, sometimes because I didn't memorize the link, so I tend to Google and just type Iron Creek, and then suddenly I was shown this particular link, and this link led me to an article. And what surprised me in this article is that you can look way down below. It says PHP syntax tree, and then there's a word prologue, which triggers me, although I fail. I fail, really fail, although Dr. Zahara taught me a number of times, but I know why, but I just cannot do programming, I guess. Plus, it has to do something with my background when I failed math in my class during my school days. Okay, so when I see the word prologue, when you look at way down, way on your right, you can see the word prologue there. So the word prologue itself trigger and it brings it brings me back to what I did in Dr. Zahra's class. Okay, and then the other one is that number 2. If you look way down, you can see that is something about having difficulties using the format of bracket symbol, that kind of stuff. So these two stuff really push me to look more into what is really happening, because this article, this particular article, is not done the way it was written. It's not done the way it was written. It was not done by a linguist. Most likely, when I look at it, most likely the writer comes from a science background, most likely computer science or anything to do with natural language processing, definitely not linguistics. So which is why when the writers use the word prologue, I know, because when I went into Dr. Zahra's class, the class is for mainly for computer student in science computer to do programming in prologue and to produce some kind of stuff, which I fail. Okay, so but I do like the part where it says bracket symbol. Okay, then I will show you why. Okay, and oops, kenapa ni tak boleh pergi? Ayah, sad ya. I'm trying to find how to go next. Why is not moving? Okay. Next. Okay. Now, how many of you, definitely all of us, if we are into linguistics, if we are into even at introduction level, introduction to linguistics or introduction to language, you might come across this kind of drawing, okay, where we are supposed to kind of draw and use some kind of brackets to analyze the sentences or the phrases. And sometimes we even use this to analyze words for morphology, to look at which one is the head, which one is the affixes and so forth. So when we look at this, and when we look back at what the previous article that I show you, you kind of see the link between the bracket symbol and this one on immediate constituent analysis. And okay, so with my background, because when I was studying for my masters and for my BA, I was doing English, and I'm not into linguistics. It was literature and ESL. So when I came back to do my PhD, I had to learn this. So and I enjoy doing, at that time I have no idea about tree diagram yet, but I enjoy doing then and now doing all this bracket thingy. So when I look at when the writers use the word, the phrase or the expression bracket symbol, I was like, haha, if the bracket symbol, we can always associate to the writers whom I believed from is how many writers, 1 or 2 who are from computer science. They use bracket symbol, prologue, and so forth. But to me, as a linguist and a student of linguistics and a student of language, Malay language especially, when I look at this, when I look at the word bracket symbol, I immediately associate this with immediate constituent analysis. And with immediate constituent analysis, that you need to have the numbers, the open bracket, okay, the number for open bracket and the number for close bracket, they need to be equal. So I'm trying to associate how those people in computer science, especially the writers of that article, and how me from linguistics and language can associate these two, although we use the different terms, okay, although we use different terms, because to me, I would always associate this with immediate constituent analysis, not the tree diagram, but using label bracketing, where you place sentence, phrase, and even the head and so forth. Okay, and then once I got into that article, I like I said, it led me to find stuff like are there any other articles done by non-linguists, okay, by people who are not linguists, but they try to do it. And then I come across this another article, okay. I come across this one, and what happens, the first thing that when I see in this article, I tend to look at their trees, at their what do you call it, their rules, okay, when they do their rules. But in this case is the tree. And if you look at the tree, the first thing that you might realize, not might, but you will realize is that, look at katanya, katanya pula, harganya, okay, for number one. Okay, when you look at harganya, I was like, how is this a word? Okay, when the nya itself, as a linguist, I would associate with something like barang itu, okay, that thing. And then so if I were to associate nya and barang itu, then the rules would be KN plus another FN, using Tata Bahasa Dewan's phrase structure rules, okay. So I'm not so sure how there's another, in Malaysia we have Tata Bahasa Dewan. I think in Indonesia, because I came across this book by Pak Harimurti Kedalaksana and a number of linguists from Indonesia who has some kind of book, prescriptive Indonesian language grammar, like Tata Bahasa Dewan. So you might want to see how the rules are similar or different when compared to Tata Bahasa Dewan in Malaysia. So this is based on Tata Bahasa Dewan. According to the writer, the tree, okay, the tree diagram, the tree is based on Tata Bahasa Dewan phrase structure grammar. They don't call it phrase structure grammar; they call it context-free grammar. Again, different terminology. For us, it's always phrase structure grammar. It's actually early generative grammar by Tata Bahasa Dewan, based on what Prof Nick, based on what Prof Farid, Prof Nick, Prof Farid, Prof Hashim, and Allahyarham Prof Abdul Hamid Mahmud, okay, based on their studies. So when you look at harganya, as a linguist, you start to question, okay, what happened to this particular tree. And then when you look at Saya Bukan Kevin, it's even worse. There's no way you can put the negative word, the negation. You cannot negate a noun phrase or this way in Bahasa Melayu, okay, and I'm sure even in Bahasa Indonesia. So the bukan cannot be placed immediately after saya. It should be placed somewhere else. And then when you look at number 5, okay, Pak Usu ketawa berdekah. If you were to do a paradigmatic comparison, okay, the berdekah can be replaced by the word kuat. And kuat can be, it's not even a verb, it should be an adverb. So although in this particular case, you can see the affix, you can see the prefix ber, but at the end of the day, when you look at it in a syntactic context, okay, environment, the word itself, okay, can no longer be categorized as a verb, but rather as an adverb, due to the fact that where it is placed, and an adverb, all of us know that that an adverb describe or modify the verb. So in this particular tree diagram, again, another big question mark appear in my head. Okay, and so I'm just going through my journey. If you have any question, just to yeah, sorry. Tadi apa ni tuan moderator kata tak boleh. Okay, so what happened? Just look at number 1. Just look at this one when it involves negation. So it's either, for me, it's either as a linguist, okay, again, do remember that in linguistics, we have different school of thought. We have so many different mazhab. And each mazhab, each school of thought, and even your own personal preference might differ from another linguist, but you have to have justification. So when I read this, I'm not so sure actually. So I try to figure out, because in Tata Bahasa Dewan, it did not say where the kata nafi is placed. The only thing it states is that kata nafi should be before a phrase, but how to represent this in 3 diagrams. So I kind of like, one is exact, just negate the noun, okay, or it negate the whole phrase, depending on how you look at it. Okay, and then I came across this. Okay, I'm looking to find how, I'm trying to figure out how those computer scientists look at language in order to produce their kind of, in order to produce their program, or and how besides program, and how they figure out on how to tell the computers what actually language is, and how they come about like this. So this rumus struktur frasa. So again, even this particular writer is using Tata Bahasa Dewan, which was, you can see rumus frasa and so forth. And again, in my case, I question the terkenal thingy, and I also question the frasa sedinama, which is the prepositional phrase. I tried to figure out what exactly the head and the complement. Of course, the head is preposition, but what is the preposition in this particular construction? Is it di, or is it di kalangan? And then if you were to have masyarakat Melanau, is the tree, is the notes for masyarakat and the notes for Melanau, are the notes at the same level, or they have different hierarchy, like X bar, okay? So Tata Bahasa Dewan is early generative grammar, so it's not X bar. It's the old where they don't have the hierarchy thingy like X double bar, X single bar, and X no bar. Okay, so this are some of the stuff, and you can, and then the most recent one, which is why when Tira asked me, Kak Odi, what do you want to share? I said, I have no idea actually, but I think I find this quite interesting. Again, this is done by computer science, by people in computer science. And if you look at the word say, this is okay, because we have homographs, kan, selak and selak. Sama kot dalam bahasa Indonesia, kan, yang selak pintu tu. Sama kan, Tira? Inshallah. So you have the so to sum selak and selak, one is kata kerja. Okay, if you look at the root, and this is where we go into morphology. If you look at the root, you can always say when selak, when you see the selak, when you try to close a door using something, so you push it, so that is an action, so that would be kata kerja. And then the other one is a selak, where the thing that you use to like for the gate, right? Mangga in bahasa Melayu. What do you call it in Indonesia? Halamak, bahasa Inggeris pun dah lupa. Dah lama tak cakap bahasa Inggeris in full. Okay, so but you get the idea, the one where you put at your gate, and then the big thing. Okay, so that is a noun. So to this particular the writers, to them, for their program, they create a program, and to them, selak and selak are very problematic because of the homograph thingy. However, okay, if you were to use the old spelling, then you will see the little accent mark, and then you can see whether that one is a selak or a selak. Okay, now then, however, but for this particular article, the thing that makes me think and question is that does the writers refer to prescriptive grammar or descriptive grammar? Okay, because if we were to use prescriptive grammar according to Tata Bahasa Dewan, the sentence should be, okay, let me see if I can have the, so the sentence should be menyelak apa pintu itu, menyelak, sorry, selak menyelak, sorry, menyelak, it's close the door kan, menyelak ke, sorry, I get confused because of the there's no it's not, I'm not so sure whether it's a schwa or a or an a. Okay, so saya should be saya menyelak rather than saya selak pintu itu. That is prescriptive grammar. However, when you use okay, standard Malay, when you use standard Malay, okay, when in Bahasa Malay or in the other non-standard dialects of Malay, we tend to drop the affixes. So we end up saying saya selak pintu itu kan. So in that case, again, so I was wondering whether the writers, when they do the program, the program, did they tell the program, okay? Because you as in any program, you have to create some kind of stuff or whatever, and tell the program that this is standard Malay or this is a non-standard Malay. Okay, so if you were to say it is an active sentence, then you need to have the for standard Malay, then you need to have the affix for the root selak. Okay, so something is not right here in terms of the programming. So when I look at the articles, I was like, is there something wrong with their program? Did they miss some kind of information for their program in order to create the thing that they are producing? And because how, if the program has more information, perhaps they will not have this ambiguity on the homograph. It's not the homophone, the homograph, SELAK. Okay. So this is what, if according to Tata Bahasa Dewan, okay, in standard Malay, okay, according to Tata Bahasa Dewan in standard Malay, you have the active sentence, saya menyelak or menyelak pintu itu. And then if you were to produce that to make it passive for first pronoun, okay, PRN1, then the object, which is the pintu itu, will go to the front, and then the what do you call the verb phrase which make up the predicate will go to the back. This is for PRN1, okay, pronoun, first person pronoun, okay. And then when you want to make it into saya selak pintu and so forth, you have to move the pintu itu to the back, or you move the predicate to the front, depending on what kind of transformational processes that you use. At the end of the day, then only you will get the saya selak or selak pintu itu. Okay, so this is on based on Tata Bahasa Dewan explanation on how saya menyelak pintu itu become saya selak pintu from an active to a passive. So when the writers write their program, I'm not so sure whether they understand what is active, what is passive. So they might have missed some kind of features for their word or tagger, whatever, to explain that if saya selak pintu, you have to put the selak there as V plus passive. You need to put the passive feature, and also to say that there is a only is the word selak can only be used for passive in first person pronoun, be it plural or singular. So again, so and then we have to figure out whether the writers, when they design the program to produce this, are they looking at descriptive grammar or are they looking at prescriptive grammar? Okay, but when I look at it, they were using prescriptive grammar, but the examples and the way they try to describe, they kind of like mixed prescriptive and descriptive grammar. Like I said, when in Bahasa Malay or non-standard Malay, you seldom, no. You never say saya menyelak, you always say saya selak. We tend to cut off the affix in non-standard Malay. I'm not so sure how in Indonesia is, but so we would say, we never say saya berlari, saya lari saja kan. You never say saya memandu kereta saja, saya pandu kereta saja. So you tend to drop all the affixes. Okay. So you can see from you have the active to the passive, and then according to Tata Bahasa Dewan, for the first person active passive transformation, you can see that here. Where's my pen? Okay, you can see that you can see the affix here. Okay, the prefix, and then this is the root. When this sentence is transformed into a passive sentence, there is no more. Okay, you cannot see any more affix here, and I just put it 0 to show that the template for me, the template for the word for any word is that there is some kind of affix for the lexical word. I haven't looked at the non-lexical aspect yet, so I am looking just at the lexical categories. So when you look at that, you realize that could it be that it should be saya di pintu itu diselak, but because this is a first person passive sentence, so the affix not there, and it's 0 affix. Okay, in terms of looking at from this template to this template. Okay. So, and then again, like this one, because in Tata Bahasa Dewan, they did not show the movement like in X bar. When in X bar you can see the traces, but not in Tata Bahasa Dewan. They did not show. They just explained that there is some kind of movement, but there's no tracing whatsoever. Okay, back to this one. So this is what I said when standard and non-standard. You can see in standard, oops, saya menyelak, the green thing is not correct, so it should be sorry. Keep, oh lama. Yang ini sorry mak. Should be like that. Okay. Sorry guys. Okay. So the affix area, okay, the affix notes, you can still see the notes for the affix, except that one is MEN hyphen and the other one is 0 affix. Okay, this is the comparison between standard and non-standard. That's why I say just now, I'm not so sure how the programmers, the person who designed the program for that particular article, look at the sentences. Are they looking at from a standard point of view or from a non-standard point of view? And also, are they looking at if standard, then they should be looking the sentence saya selak pintu from a passive sentence point of view rather than from an active sentence point of view. So again, and I'll show you why we have to explain why I discussed this later on. Okay, now going back to this, you will realize that, like I said just now, we have to look at whether when we study linguistics, right, we have to know what is prescriptive, okay, in our particular language. So I guess in Indonesia, you have the most for the word, you would use the Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia, which I used to, the online one. And like I said, there is a book. I'm not so sure whether the students in USU use the book by Pak Harimurti. And in Malaysia, we have at the moment Tata Bahasa Dewan, which is used by all the schools, and also university programs that cater to just prescriptive grammar. In USM, we have 2 schools. One school, which is Pusat Pengajian Bahasa, the acronym SOLAD. Okay, SOLAD would use prescriptive grammar, but in my school, which is the School of Humanities, we look at both prescriptive and descriptive grammar because we have students who will be teachers and lecturers, and also those who will be working outside the education sectors. Okay, so it's very important for us, and it's also very important for those people, for the non-linguists who wants to look at language. They have to know what is prescriptive, what is descriptive in a particular language, so that they can produce a proper program when they want to analyze or they want to produce something for translation or even like for sounds. So in this particular presentation, I just focus on morphology and syntax. But sometimes when you look at phonology too, we will have problem like what are the syllables that we need to tell the program, what are the choice for the syllables. Okay, so for Malay, like I said, and then when I look at the articles written by the non-linguists, another question comes to mind, is that whether they looked at all the school of thoughts in linguistics in general. Again, have they looked at the traditional grammar? Have they looked at structural, both American and European? Have they looked at I mean, generative grammar? And sometimes when I look at the program, some of them, later I will show, some of them they're not really using the one that Chomsky, like the one that Tata Bahasa Dewan is using, but rather they use the one by Lucien Tesnier, dependency grammar, to produce their platform in order to analyze or to produce something, some kind of output. And then at the same time, for Malay language in Malaysia, like I said, the schools and the universities that cater just pure prescriptive grammar, they would use Tata Bahasa Dewan. But for us in the School of Humanities, especially in my section, bahagian linguistik bahasa Melayu, we look at all sorts of prescriptive grammar. Okay, so from way before our independence, which is Pelita Bahasa Zabbar, and then sometimes we also look at Prof. Asma Haji Omar's ways of description, the language, which is there are some similarities and there are some differences between Tata Bahasa Dewan and Prof. Asma. And also for morphology, just for morphology, I would use Prof. Abdul Hassan's view. And again, the three of them, okay, there are some similarities and there are some differences. And when you are a non-linguist, you have to figure out which one you want to use and why you want to use it. Okay, so it's very important for the non-linguist to figure this out in Malaysia, for me. Okay, and then the PBBLT is this one. And UKM we even have Prof. Zaharani. Am I running out of time? In UKM we have Prof. Zaharani and Prof. Noh Hashima, who have their own prescriptive grammar. Okay, and again, like I said, some of the views are similar and some of the views are different than Tata Bahasa Dewan. But at the end of the day, all of us, all of them, okay, try to describe the language the best that they can. Except that when you're non-linguist, you have to figure out which one you want to use and stick with it. Stick with it. So you have to, because like I said, when you look at Tata Bahasa Dewan, you look at Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir, even the way the sentences are described. Case in point, the predicate in Tata Bahasa Dewan is totally different than the predicate concept of Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir, because the predicate in Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir is more like the predicate in prologue. So if you study prologue, then you would rather use Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir. But the predicate in Tata Bahasa Dewan involves adjunct and also complement, but not Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir. Nahwu Melayu Mutakhir predicate is just the predicator, but Prof. Asma use the term predicate atau predikat. Okay, and then again this one, this is very interesting. Okay, in order for the non-linguists to produce programs, okay, in order for them to produce programs, they have to really understand, they have to really give a good, perfect input. So if you look at the green thingy, okay, the green thingy, you can see that jika ayat dimasukkan betul. In other words, if you give the wrong input, And when I say input, it's not just the words. You have to also look at the rules. It doesn't matter whether you use Chomskyan or Tesnian. Okay, so most important that you have to really understand. So what happened? Okay, when I look at this one, because again the writer said, what triggers me is that when I love X bar, although I'm not very good. Not the word very is not correct. I'm not good at X bar, but when I look at the article and I see X bar, wow, I have to look at this particular publication. Okay, I have to know what X bar is for this particular writer. So when I look at the rules, I'm surprised because one. Okay, although it doesn't matter whether you use equals or the arrow, how can n double bar dominates another n double bar? Okay, how did this happen? Okay, and then when I look at this one, if you look at the tree, this is the I double bar. Okay, correct. On the left hand side should be the specifier, which is the noun phrase sire, but something is way wrong here. N double bar dominates directly n double bar. What happens to n single bar? Okay, and what happened to this? And then from this one again, so all this again brings my question, because the writer is from a non-linguistic background. So what happened? Okay, did she or he really understand what X bar theory is all about? Even the schema, the simple template. So like this one. So I'm using the one with adjunct. So if you were to look at the X bar schema, you can always see anything is X double bar, X single bar if you have adjunct, and then the X single bar will dominate another X single bar if there is an adjunct. Okay, so it will dominate another one, and then this will dominate directly. Like I said, with it should be the what you call the triangle, but because I'm too lazy to put another extra information, so you just have the notes directly. That the branch is directly dominating another information. So when you look at this one, so this is what happened. Okay, so when you look, this is what is written. Okay, in the that particular article, you can see this should be the correct one. Okay, now ignore the COMP, ignore the EGO, ignore the most complicated diagrams. Okay, what this particular writer did is that he or she just used the simple schema rather than the complicated one, complete with all those movement and so forth. So what happened with this one, you can see, okay, this one is correct, the specifier, but for the I, you need to in Bahasa Melayu. Okay, I think it's all about the same in Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, the I would dominate another lexical. Okay, Carney would say this is not the correct one, shouldn't be any depending, but in terms of teaching, it's better for me. When I teach, I would rather have the students draw another branch so that they would see that this area can either filled by the auxiliary aspect or just nothing at all. Okay, so again, you can see that it's from I single bar, it goes straight to sorry, this is correct actually, K double bar. The problem is that there should be another one like this one. Okay, there should be another branch for the head of the I double bar, which is the IP. Okay, for the IP. So and then from VP, it should be, okay, they should have another one, this one for the complement part, but this one from, because like I said, for X bar, the double bar will dominate another adjunct or another will dominate the adjunct or complement, which is X single bar, and then on the right or the left the specifier. But this is this one is not correct. And then from N double bar, you just go to N zero bar. Like so, it's very important. In this particular case, I'm not so sure how the program is done, because when I read the conclusion, the writer says that he or she managed to find something and it's correct. So I was like, so when you do the program reflect how you understand the linguistic aspect or how. Okay, so this is what happened. And then I come to this one. If you look at this one, you can see the saya makan nasi. Okay, this one, and Ali makan nasi lemak udang, ibu beri Ali makan. Again, saya makan nasi, not so bad because we tend to find a lot of sentences saya makan nasi. But again, okay, saya makan nasi, is that passive or is that active? And then Ali makan nasi lemak udang. Okay, again, what do you do with this? Okay, so it looks quite simple with makan nasi. The only thing is that it looks like the selak thingy, where with the first person, it doesn't matter whether makan is inherently transitive or not. You have to figure out whether the sentence is active or passive. And with Ali makan nasi udang, blah blah blah. Okay, again with third person, unless you really understand that it is inherently transitive, and so it is active whether you have the affix or not. Okay, because the affix is embedded in the meaning, then it will be active. So, and then with this one, ibu beri Ali makan. With ibu beri Ali makan, the proper prescriptive grammar would use ibu memberi makan kepada Ali or ibu memberi makanan. Now, the makan thing is more Bahasa Malay. Okay, you don't makan je. Ambil makan tu, but you never say something unless you have to look at this as a complex sentence with ibu memberi, and then there's another phrase with makan and so forth. And if you were to look, I'm just using prelim from Karni. This is from Karni, so it's not as simple as what the writer states in the discussion. Because with double, if the writer say he or she uses X bar, it's not so direct. Now this is a prelim view on how sentences with ditransitive verb structured. Okay, prelim, and then when you come to this one, this will give a headache for the non-linguist, and even for someone like me who are not well versed in X bar, although I love to look at the trees. Okay, so this is again like this one. This is a final where you have the Ega IOP and the Ega IO and so forth. So how do you translate this? If that particular writer says that he or she uses X bar, so how to translate this into the program so that the writer can produce an output that would describe that when you give something there is some kind of the semantic feature of positive location and so forth. Okay, and this is from, again, I'm just really looking this from Karni. I'm not looking like Radford, what else, and some other scholars in linguistics. Okay, so and then with this one, when I find this is from what net bahasa and so I'm not so sure. But when you try to figure out, okay, okay, you look at the word berdakwa here. If you were to look at the word berdakwa, okay, now berdakwa, I try to look at PRPM, which is Pusat Rujukan Persuratan Melayu, equivalent to your KBBI daring. You would see that it would put this like sastra lama. Okay, so nowadays you would not be able to use the word, not that you not be able, you can use it, but I never heard someone use berdakwa before. Okay, but I can see mendakwa, I can see dakwa, dakwaan and so forth. pendawaan, mendakwakan is another one, okay? But berdakwa. So again, so I'm not so sure when the non-linguists try to produce their programs, they look at all these periodic related words, okay? Like for example, like I said, berdakwa. You can see in sastra lama, like sejarah Melayu and so forth, but the current novels, the current short stories, you will not be able to see the word berdakwa. Most likely is mendakwa and so forth, the active version. Okay, and then this is what we call dependency. Some of the non-linguists use DG to produce their programs, and then some would use the early generative grammar proposed by Tata Bahasa Dewan, and the previous one is X bar, although it's not really, doesn't look really like an X bar. And these particular writers, they use dependency grammar, and to me, DG is so much easier than X bar to produce a platform or software for natural language processing, because it's so much more direct rather than X bar or even generative grammar, early generative grammar. Okay. So and then this is some of the stuff and how they look at how they tag some the word class and also any other features related to a word. And for this one, I'm just questioning on how, because when it involves semantics, how much information can they put for a word in order to produce their program. Okay, and then for this one, okay, like I said, the writer said they use Tata Bahasa Dewan. However, for this particular construction, it looks like a combination of Tata Bahasa Dewan with what Prof. Zuraida is trying to propose, which is for the sentence, what is it? Okay, for the sentence, wah itu sudah keras, this one. Okay, so according to Prof. Zuraida, because of the auxiliary temporal auxiliary word sudah, keras become a verb. Okay, however, when you look from another perspective, you would realize that the verb menjadi, okay, is not shown explicitly, but you know somewhere in our mind that there is some kind of verb that can relate the auxiliary sudah and also the adjective keras, because then the adjective keras become, the adjective verb keras become a subject complement. Okay, so the whole phrase become a subject complement for buah itu, because so again, like I said, it's quite tough for when the computer scientists, the non-linguists, look and at our language, they have to figure out. Okay, it's not, we cannot just depend on one particular perspective and then move to something else. So okay, so we have to figure out why Prof. Zuraida, she was a professor in University Malaya, why Prof. Zuraida say keras become a kata kerja, a verb after the word sudah. So it's quite tough. I think in Indonesia, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, there is the word karyaan to place kata kerja and also the adjective, which looks like it's not really a verb, but it looks like a verb. Then so there is a kata karyaan there. Okay, and then for this one, morphology. Now we know in our language, okay, be it Indonesia or Malay, the affix, we have the let me see here, pula letak. Okay, you can have the prefix, you have the suffix, and then the circumfix, or if I'm not correct, okay, if I'm not wrong, then KBBI Daring use what? Confix, kan? So, but they forgot about the infix, because in Bahasa Melayu, like Bahasa Indonesia, we can always insert an affix, okay, in the middle of a word, then like gementar. So like me right now, gementar, okay. The root is getar, right? And then you have the there in, okay. So again, I'm not sure how. So what I'm trying to say is that we, from the language and linguistic sides, and also those from the computer science, engineering, and so forth, while working with language, human language, okay, we should help each other and bridge, okay, just like the Twin Tower, okay. So the good thing about the best thing is to have a linguist working together, okay, to produce the software or whatever platform to analyze or to produce some kind of product that can be used for human, and we cannot work in isolation. I mean, the linguists work on their own, and then the computer science people, the non-linguists, work on their own, because like I said, if we are not working together, and we don't have this kind of bridge, okay, be it the Penang Bridge or the second bridge or the Sky Bridge, you will realize what happened with the earlier slides that I showed, where the way the sentences are analyzed, or the words are analyzed, are pretty swerve out of the regular context of what Malay words or Malay sentences are all about. So if you were in not if you were since you all of you are from USU, you might want to work, we the linguists might want to work with those from the computer department and try to figure out how to produce a proper software or platform that can really reflect what really happens in the language according to whether prescriptive or descriptive grammar. The best is prescriptive grammar, because then it will be more controlled. So, but that's where we the linguists can contribute. In other words, our knowledge in morphology, our knowledge in syntax can help them understand this is the proper sentence in active form, this is the proper sentence in passive form, and this is the proper form for a word when it is in passive and active sentence, that kind of stuff. So this is basically what I'm trying to say. So okay, let me see. Okay, so these are the references that I use, and of course there are some other references, and thank you so much. And I apologize if you find it's not really computer thingy, it's more linguistic based, right? But I hope that it will open your mind or to work together with those people from science, from engineering, to produce something which is proper, rather than based on what they understand, and sometimes the understanding good compared to what we understand. So that is about it. Thank you so much. I hope if you have any question or any views that you might want to add, so that I can to help me produce a much better paper for this one. Okay, thank you so much. Terima kasih. That's it. Cukup ke? Satu jam.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr.
Tak dengar. Alamak. Tak, sekejap. Tunggu sekejap. Saya tak. Maaf, saya aduh, mak tak dengar pula dah. Ayah.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Radiah Yusuf. Terima kasih.
Suara Pak Rahmat terlalu kecil itu.
Ah.
Ya,
okay.
terlalu kecil.
saya ada masalah. Macam mana saya nak masuk balik Zoom? Saya di Zoom ke atau tidak ni? Sebab saya
Masih di Zoom, Prof.
masih di Zoom. Kenapa saya keluar dia kata return to meeting? Sorry. Aduh. Sorry. Pening dah.
Cuman layarnya masih belum ditutup.
Oh, macam mana nak tutup layarnya? Okey.
Gimana,
Sekejap saya nak ke mana ni? Meeting
Di atas tu, Doktor.
atas
Stop
atas,
dia.
where? Stop video like that.
Bukan.
Bukan.
Okay.
Klik bagian atas dokter.
Oh, stop share.
Ya,
Okay.
udah, stop share.
Okay, terima kasih. Semalam kepala saya terbalik. Hari ini saya
Maklum, biasa gunakan Webex,
sebab itulah saya pun kena mahir seperti mana the non-linguist kurang mahir dengan linguistik, so saya pula yang dah mahir dengan Webex kena mahirkan dengan Zoom. Okay, terima kasih anyway. Pak Rahmat,
Yes.
Pak Rahmat sedang bercakap ke saya tak dengar?
Ini agak bermasalah ini dengan speaker saya juga ini.
Oh, okay. Tak apa kalau saya tak dengar, Tira tolong ulang.
Terima kasih kepada Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Thank you very much for your kind presentations. Cukup menarik pembahasan yang tadi dipaparkan oleh Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Bagaimana kemudian morfologi dan syntactic knowledge itu berkontribusi untuk computational linguistik. Ada beberapa poin yang bisa saya sampulkan di sini, di mana ternyata permasalahan yang timbul ketika menginput data yang harus pertama sekali kita pahami adalah mengenai grammar yang preskriptif atau deskriptif. Melihat contoh yang tadi, secara pribadi memang saya agak mereka ini, mohon maaf, karena contoh menggunakan bahasa Melayu ini, kemudian ada note atau elemen yang mungkin menggunakan juga terminologi Melayu seperti KN, FN. Mungkin kalau di atasnya tadi masih jelas bagi kita, subjek, predicate, NP, VP, itu seperti biasa ya. Mungkin pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang akan ditanyakan oleh para peserta pada pagi hari ini, saya yakin akan berkaitan dengan bagaimana lebih memperjelas untuk permasalahan menginput data, khususnya untuk kalimat-kalimat, apakah itu tadi seperti kalimat aktif maupun kalimat pasif. Para peserta yang kami hormati, juga Dr. Rodia Yusuf sebagai pemateri pada pagi hari ini, untuk tidak lagi memperpanjang kalam, berhubung waktu kita terbatas di sini, menurut rundown acara, maka kita ada sekitar 30 menit ke depan untuk kemudian membuka sesi ya. Sesi yang pertama untuk sesi tanya jawab. Di kolom chat ada pertanyaan. Mungkin Dr. Rodia Yusuf juga bisa membuka kolom chatnya, Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Ada pertanyaan di situ yang disampaikan oleh peserta kita, Gaisani Anjani. Izin bertanya, apakah yang menyebabkan terjadi perubahan yang signifikan dalam penggunaan kata mendakwa dalam karya sastra klasik berbanding dengan karya sastra ini? Ibu Dr. Rodia Yusuf bisa melihat kolom chatnya, Ibu Dr. Rodia Yusuf?
Sudah di.
Terima kasih. Yang ini
itu tolong dimatikan itu. Terlalu ribet, Sabta.
Yang ini saya minta maaf sebab saya tidak, saya terus terang saya tidak, because I did not study historical linguistics, so I'm not sure why. Not mendakwa, but berdakwa actually. Berdakwa is you can see maaf, saya ada dengar ada can you hear echoing from my Am I echoing?
Iya.
Am I echoing? Oh, minta maaf. Macam mana nak hilangkan echo ni? Ada gema.
Ya, itu
Ira,
dari
macam mana ni?
itu dari peserta itu.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, going back to this, it's berdakwa. It's not mendakwa. It's berdakwa. I have no idea why, because I have not studied this particular area. I think it's better for you to read stuff written by Prof. Asma, and then Pak James Collins, and also Prof. Nuria Muhammad, because this is not my area. Just that I just realized that when I read the classical literature, I tend to find that there are a lot more verb and a lot more passive sentence. That I can tell you, but I have no idea the development from ber to men and why you can see it's not really perubahan. It's not perubahan. I don't think it's perubahan. Because the ber and men are in classical literature, except the ber is more significant. The ber affix is more significant. But I have no idea. I'm so sorry. I have no idea why this happened. But like I said, just read stuff from. I'm sure from even from Indonesia. Apa tu nama dia? Yang write about apa ni? The changes from the old Malay, okay, to the current Malay, be it Indonesia or bahasa Malaysia or even bahasa Melayu Brunei. So I'm very sorry about this. Minta maaf, saya masih dengar, suara saya echo. Saya minta maaf saya dengar echo. Gema.
It's okay, Bu. It's okay.
Okay. So,
Pak Rahmat bisa bertanya.
Silakan, Dr. Mulyadi.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Rahmat. Salam kenal Prof. Rodiah Yusuf.
Saya bukan prof.
Belum.
Saya hanya senior. Belum. Saya hanya senior lecturer.
Associate Professor.
No. Just a regular lecturer, senior lecturer.
Oke, baik. Dr. Rodiah Yusuf. Salam kenal.
Salam kenal.
Saya Mulyadi ya dari USU.
Oke.
Pertama, saya terus terang tertarik dengan materi yang disampaikan oleh Dr. Rodiah Yusuf. Karena ini kan materinya sintaksis generatif ini.
Iya.
Chomsky. Cuma memang materi ini sebenarnya cocoknya diajarkan dalam satu semester. Tidak cocok dalam satu kali pertemuan. Terlalu padat materinya ya.
Nah.
Banyak istilah-istilah yang tadi disinggung oleh Dr. Rahmat Shah itu memang istilah-istilah yang asing di telinga, terutama bagi mahasiswa yang belum mengenal sintaksis generatif ini. Kecuali mahasiswa tingkat intermediate atau advance untuk sintaksis. Mereka harus belajar dulu sintaksis dasar, baru bisa masuk ke sintaksis lanjut. Nah, istilah-istilah itu misalnya apa yang dimaksud dengan specifier, infleksi, komplement, adjust, sebagai yang disebut dengan kategori fungsional. Itu harus diperkenalkan dulu. Lalu ada istilah noun, verb, adjective, preposition yang kita sebut dengan kategori leksikal. Jadi kalau kita mahasiswa tidak paham apa itu kata, frasa, klausa, kalimat, termasuk kategori leksikal dan fungsional, saya kira akan sulit memahami konsep sintaksis generatif versi Chomsky ini. Itu komentar.
Ya, setuju.
Setuju. Iya, yang kedua, saya mau menyinggung tentang data yang tadi disampaikan. Data kalimat. Tadi ada kalimat harganya tentu mahal. Ya. Dalam diagram yang Dr. Rodiah tampilkan, itu saya melihat kata tentu dihubungkan atau berkombinasi dengan harganya dalam membentuk FN. Dalam bahasa Indonesia justru tentu itu berhubungan dengan predikatnya, mahal. Jadi ini bagi saya agak menarik dan minta penjelasan lebih jauh dari Dr. Rodiah Yusuf. Lebih-lebih tadi dalam diagram pohon, proyeksi maksimalnya lazimnya itu adalah sentence atau frasa infleksional. Tapi tadi Dr. Rodiah menampilkan, saya nggak tahu kepanjangan itu apa.
Oke, ya, Pak.
Nah, itu kan begitu. Nah, itu yang kedua,
Pak.
Pak.
Jangan banyak Pak, biar saya jawab satu-satu. Saya cepat lupa.
Oke, terakhir, Dr. Rodiah. Pengalaman saja, pengalaman.
Oke.
Ketertarikan mahasiswa terhadap sintaksis generatif di University Science Malaysia ini bagaimana? Kalau di mahasiswa saya kurang menarik ini topik ini karena dianggap rumit diagram ini. Bagaimana kalau di Terima kasih.
Sama saja. Pelajar di sebenarnya pelajar saya pun mereka gerun dengan Raja Pohon yang ada tambah-tambah kalau X-bar minimalism, bila kita naik daripada X-bar ke atas mereka lagi seram, dan alangkan yang biasa dalam tata bahasa dewan pun mereka dah seram. Dia nampak X-bar tu lagi mereka rasa ketakutan, because kita nak kena faham betul-betul. Okey, balik pada, kalau saya lupa ya Pak Tira, Pak Rahmat tolong ingatkan sebab saya ni ada short memory sikit tentang. Okey, berbalik kepada istilah tu, ya, saya setuju dengan apa yang Bapak katalah. Seharusnya anyone who wants to learn linguistic, you should know, but in this particular morning, day or whatever kan, di Indonesia sudah pertengah hari kot, tidak mencukupi dalam masa kurang dari 1 jam, but you can always look up what it means. Okay, now kalau kita ada background, yes, alhamdulillah. Dan saya sendiri, terus terang, saya sendiri mengambil masa yang faham, because background saya yang asal bukanlah linguistik, saya lebih kepada literature. So it's quite tough to really understand apa dia konsep-konsep dalam linguistik. And furthermore, when I was in primary school and secondary school, we did not use tata bahasa dewan, we used other prescriptive grammar. And in my school, we used the one by Prof. Awang Had Saleh. Tan Sri Awang Had Saleh. I'm not so sure whether those in USU are familiar with Tan Sri Awang Had Saleh. So he's one of the linguist and language educator. Okay. And again, ya, memang betul. Kita dan bila kita bergerak daripada nahu generatif awal pergi pula kepada X-bar, satu penyakit lagi timbul, ialah because X-bar kita kena tahu macam Bapak kata, apa yang dimaksudkan dengan specifier itu, what is complement, what is adjunct. So you have to relearn and relearn again. So but jangan jadikan sebagai kita punya and then jangan give up, okay, because like I said, it takes time to understand. But if you have, insya-Allah dekat USU pastinya ada pakar dalam minimalism and so forth yang explain furthermore. But if you can't, because you don't have the time and so forth, try to look for Carney, Radford and so forth to understand what X-bar is all about, because Chomsky is so much more difficult. Okay, and then the I thingy, the I double bar and so forth. Okay, that is not from my tree, so I draw it from the writers, and the way the writers draw it, it started off with an the I phrase IP rather than TP. Now we have TP, com and so forth. So that's I draw based on how the writer understand, and because I want to show that there is something wrong the way the writers understand what syntax and especially generative grammar is all about. So the proper one is you can always look, the easiest one is to look at Cheryl Black for X-bar, but for the rest, like minimalism and PNP and so forth, there are so much. There are other books that you can look in order to understand all these terms and so forth. But again, yeah, it's not easy when it comes to generative grammar. I would rather do Tesnia. Lucian Tesnia is so much easier than Chomskyan generative grammar. So if you have the chance, Tira, nanti Tira pergi dekat FB Kak Odi, bantu, dia ada satu link where you can download the whole Tesnia book, and then to understand what DG according to Lucian Tesnia is so much easier compared to what Chomsky tries to propose in analyzing the language. And when I work with a lecturer, Dr. Tang? Yeah, Dr. Tang. He was an associate professor working with computer in USM, but now he moved to some other colleges. So even to him, when we try to show him that this is what X-bar is all about, he himself from a computer background, he said it was so much difficult. Why so difficult? When you have DG, it's so much easier. All you have to do is find the nucleus and look at the dependency and see, just draw and show it directly, as opposed to all this maximal, intermediate, and minimal projection, where only the non-linguist, only the linguist would make ourselves, go into a lot of difficulties. So Saya jawab ke Pak Mulyadi, minta maaf kalau saya keluar soalan. Ya, kena belajar lebih, bukan satu semester Pak Mulyadi. It's so kena dua.
Iya, 2 semester.
Ya,
betul.
morfologi hal lain dan because generative grammar sangat susah pada saya.
Betul. Terima kasih Dr. Rodiah Yusuf.
Terima kasih
sudah
Pak.
berbagi pengalaman.
I think Dr. Yusuf, one more question from Dr. Mulyadi. Ya, Dr. Mulyadi tadi kan ada menanyakan sedikit Dr. Rodiah tentang kalau tidak salah tadi tentang harganya mahal itu.
Oh ya, harganya ya. Oh yes, now betul. Kalau harganya mahal tu Pak, use X bar and above. Okay, X bar to minimalism, easier to understand on how the constituent works as opposed to the earlier generative grammar, because of the fact that the nya you can only see it, dia macam on just one line, one level. But if you were to use X bar, for instance, if you were to use X bar, the nya you can put it under complement or you can put it under determiner, depending on how you interpret nya as a determiner or nya as a possessive or reflexive something. So pronoun. So how you interpret in terms of X bar, you can see very clearly that nya is not the head, or nya is not the as part. Nya is not an affix. Nya is a word by itself, although it looks like an affix. So yeah, it's better to draw the nya. For me, easier to look at nya as determiner at the moment. Easier using X bar.
So Dr. Rodiah Yusuf, when we have these two kinds of interpretation on nya, will it make difficulties when we put it as an input data to compute for
That's the thing. Pak. Which is why I think those working in computer science and engineering, they have to put an extra feature for nya. It's not just a nominalizer. The nya is not a nominalizer. It is also a pronoun which functions in terms of X bar. You can put it, like I said, depending on how you interpret, you can put it under determiner, or you can put it under. But if I were to equate nya with barang itu, then that would be a complement rather than a determiner. So again, you have to look at how you explain the whole thing. But one thing for sure is that the writers, I think they do not put enough features to differentiate the nya nominalizer, nya and nya pronoun. Okay, for me, the nya nominalizer is an affix. Okay, rather than just the proper GN. But a lot of us, including those working with, they look at nya as just either nominal or just a pronoun.
Dr. Rodiah, itu kan di proyeksi maksimal kan mestinya sentence atau frasa infleksional.
Yes. Kalau at sentence levels, it should be okay. If the tata bahasa dewan, it should be ayat. For tata bahasa dewan.
Bahasa Malaysia ayat. Saya pikir adjektif tadi, makanya
if you were to use the earlier X bar, that would be IP, and then earlier you have the TP, and then you have the COMP. So you have to really look at it. And however, irrespective of whatever the notes are, the one used by the computer scientist is wrong.
Iya.
Okay.
Jadi 2 kali kami harus belajar kalau memang mau mempelajari dari buku Malaysia ya, karena istilahnya istilah Melayu ya. Ayat
ya. Sama lah juga.
Makasih Pak. Agak bingung juga tadi.
Kalau saya tengok buku Pak Harimurti untuk sintaksis pun pening juga. Saya kena itu ya orang Indonesia kata. Sama saja Pak. Dialeknya, sebab kita dialek yang berbeza kan, tapi kalau dicari masih boleh faham. Kalau buku Pak Harimurti untuk sintaksis tu saya insya-Allah saya cuba faham. Okey, ada soalan lagi?
Adakah? Itu juga menjawab tadi permasalahan aktif sama pasif versi bahasa Malaysia dan bahasa Indonesia tadi ya.
Ada lain ya?
Yang tadi
nanti saya kena berbincang lebih lanjut, ada kelainan antara Indonesia dengan Malaysia. Atau sebenarnya saya yang salah. bukan sebab tu. Okey.
Thank you, Dr. Radia.
Sure.
We have another questions from Miss Irma. Apakah di Malaysia sudah diajarkan computational linguistik, Bu?
Okay. Yang saya tahu bila saya Google, di USM memang di USM tidak ada, tetapi apanya? Okay, echoing. Okay. I can hear another voice coming in. Okay, di USM kita ada pusat pengajian sains komputer, dan saya tak pasti mereka ajar atau tidak. Mereka tidak ajar computational linguistics per se. However, banyak kajian dilakukan yang melibatkan natural language processing, which makes them, they have to understand what linguistics is all about when they want to do natural language processing, or they want to produce or analyze human language. So, but in terms of per se tak ada. So bila saya nak buat computational linguistics, when I was googling, a lot more dekat US. Okay, again I'm biased sebab saya graduate dekat US. So dekat US, yes, dia memang ada kursus khas untuk computational linguistics, dan they have to learn from introduction to linguistics way up until semantics and pragmatics, because of the different when it comes to syntax, another thing, and when you involve discourse, another level is coming out. And then when you involve verbal and non-verbal aspect, another thing coming out. But although they don't teach computational linguistics per se, but when I look at how they write, and when I look at their research, I realize that they read. Okay, they read all this stuff. It's just that the problem that I see based on the stuff, the publication that I read, is that some of them understand, and quite a number of them misinterpret some of the linguistic aspect that we, the linguists, understand. Okay, boleh jawab ke Miss Irma? Menjawab ke tidak?
It's okay, Dr. Radia.
Tapi tak ada masalah. Even though tak mengajar, contohnya kalau di USU tak ada kursus computational linguistics, alright. All of you can work with them. Like I said, bridge the two areas. So work with them, and then just like have a seminar or whatever, so you can see, they can see what we do, we can see what they do, at least so that work together. So any misunderstanding about linguistics and any misunderstanding about language, we can smooth it out, because language is not so straightforward. That's the thing. Language is not so straightforward as like math, and science. So we have to really look into and explain to them that some stuff is not the way you see it. And how do you tell that to your how do you do, what input can you give, what are the features that can you give, like the simple nya, or even the kata nafi, negation. So how to do it? Is it in front of a word, or in front of phrase, or in front of a clause? Okay, so work together for me.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Radia Yusuf. Ini ada pertanyaan yang langsung mungkin ingin dijawab oleh Dr. Radia Yusuf. Ini berkaitan, mungkin Ibu Dr. Radia Yusuf bisa melihat di layar kita. Peserta kita Nuraisikin Ghazali memberikan contoh kalimat, selain itu pengambilan vaksin ini adalah sebagai penebat penyakit. Selain itu, adakah subjek ayat?
No. Sah bukan? Definitely no. Selain itu is under pragmatics, can be a discourse marker, and you can put it kalau dalam you can always put it
conjunction.
Conjunction, yes. It can be that can so you can always put that under comp. Okay, you can put that under comp, and then the subject is pengambilan vaksin. One thing about language, that's the beauty of language. The subject is not always the first word. It can be way down, So don't just look at that as, because selain itu is the first thing that we see in a sentence, we assume that is a subject. No, the subject, you have to ask this question. Apakah yang menjadi sebagai penyebab penyakit? That would the answer will be pengambilan vaksin. That would be the subject. Okay, and when you draw it, in terms of X bar, pengambilan vaksin would be under specifier, which is under the X double bar, okay, on your left hand side. And then selain itu, a discourse marker. One thing, that's a bad thing about generative grammar. Because we just study about on sentence level. When you have selain itu, that is another level, which is discourse. But you can always manipulate the principles and whatever in generative grammar, and explain what is selain itu. And I cannot remember who said selain itu is some sort of conjunction from one sentence to another. Okay, so that way you can figure out where to put. Kan? So again, but definitely not subject. Okay, it's a specifier in X bar, a specifier depending on whether you use TP or IP, or definitely not COM. It's either TP or IP, depending on what sort of nodes that you'll be using. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Radia Yusuf. Another question from Rina Evianti. Saya baca dari Rina di sini. Cukup menarik pertanyaannya. Bagaimana kaitan morfologi sintaksis di dalam menerjemahkan tanda-tanda yang ada dalam computational linguistik?
Mana ni? Tak ada soalannya? Saya salah faham
Coba lihat yang
okay, this one. Okay, for the yang question yang sebelum ni, kalau ikut yes, it always binary. So when you have the conjunction, suddenly you have a conjunction nodes and branch. Some would question why you have the rumah itu besar, and then you have the conjunction, and then you have rumah itu kecil. So it's always binary by principle. And then okay, Ibu Odi, so izin tanya tanda-tanda tu apa ya? Maksudnya menterjemah tanda-tanda tu apa? Saya tak faham. Tanda-tanda apa maksudnya tanda? What do you mean by tanda?
Marker atau sign atau signifier atau apa? Marker.
Okay. Oh, the marker. Again, okay, saya tak tahu macam mana how those people in computational linguistics in Malaysia, or those in engineering or even science computer did it. But when it comes to translation, of course, translation per se you can read. With computational linguistics, I guess you have to have all the features to make sure that how to the extra features, whatever, I don't know what the term is for them, those features that shows that these are the markers in terms of whether are you saying the marker like tenses? What do you mean? Which marker do you mean? Is it the grammatical markers, or are you saying these markers, like I said, discourse markers? So much. Okay, if grammatical markers, then you have to have the feature again. So you have to tell the computer, we, the human being, have to tell the computer that okay, this is supposed to be first person pronoun, singular or plural. This is supposed to be okay, in Bahasa Melayu we don't have tense, right? But we have aspect. So you have to tell all this, how to, and what is transitive, what is sometimes it's not just transitive, whether it is active and passive. So we are the one. So I'm not so sure how the people in science produce the program in order to cater to all these markers, to all these features that we have in for words and also for sentences. Okay, so that's why which is one of the reason all of us in linguistics should help to tell them, okay, this is the one, this is the thing, this is what you're supposed to put in, so that hey, this is just for standard Malay or Indonesian, and this is non-standard Malay or Indonesian, blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, you can do it as long as you have I think a good program designer who can translate, okay, whatever we know in linguistics into some kind of program languages or whatever. So that's another thing. Like I said, it's quite tough when we draw the tree diagram X bar. We have to explain to them, okay, the tree should be like this. Sometimes the tree should be like this. And when you have movement, the whole thing will go up. And okay, how do you draw this? So it's quite tough, but we can come to some kind of point that we can work together. No problem, I think. Most important is that we just have to, discuss and tell them this is what we want in language, and they have to tell us, okay, in computer we are supposed to do this, blah blah blah. Okay. And then number 2, pembelajaran. Okay. Okay. We don't have computational linguistics, but even linguistic itself, okay, I can tell you, even linguistic itself, the students have problem understanding, and sometimes they kind of like, okay, we are supposed to do Bahasa Melayu, why are we doing linguistics? And to them, linguistics is like an alien as opposed to just Bahasa Melayu, like the one that you do in school, just to write sentences, saya makan nasi, and how to do essay. It's totally different, linguistics and like language that they expect. So it's not just computational linguistics. So if I'm not so sure, because like I said, the one in US, they have the students in computer science, they have a whole program. Okay, and they then what they start with introduction course to computational linguistics, and then to morphology, moving to phonetics, and then phonology, and they learn everything. So, but we don't have that. So, I'm not so sure about Indonesia. I forgot to check. But if the states, yes, they have special program where they start from introduction until phonetics, phonology, morphology, now even to discourse. And very interestingly, for discourse, they even look at how they study the verbal and non-verbal aspects when you are doing the thing, and then what happens in the background and so forth. So very interesting. And I believe even in Malaysia there are some researchers who are looking at non-verbal and aspects of human language. I think they are moving into it. I think. Okay. So is that? I hope I'm answering the question. Syntax. Okay. Oh yes. Yang nombor 4 ya. Like I said, it should some okay, because of the binary aspect. So some linguists have problem when conjunction. So yeah, with X bar, it's not just X bar and above. They try as much as possible to do just the 2 branches, except for conjunction. Even for conjunction, some perspective would use the binary perspective. Some would just put in the conjunction in there. So for conjunction, some would have more branches, but for some, they would just have the 2 branches. And with X bar, again, they have the conjunction. The first sentence would be under specifier. The second sentence will be under complement, and then the conjunction would be conjunction double bar, conjunction single bar, conjunction single no bar. That would be the head would be the conjunction. So try to look at lupa pula buku ni. I'll try to give to Dr. Tira the name of the book, so you can have a look at the different perspective on conjunction, and why some would use more than 2 branches, some would just stick to 2 branches. Okay, binary. Yes, and then for number 5, okay, apakah dosen? Okay, subjek mata kuliah dia mengajarkan subjek. Yes. We have for the undergrad. Okay, for my department, although the name is the courses would just the students will graduate with sarjana muda, sarjana muda sastra bahasa Melayu, but actually what we did or we do rather is just purely linguistic. So yes, they have the courses from introduction to linguistics until historical linguistics. So you have to start off with phonetics, phonology, and then morphology, syntax, and so forth, and you have to learn the basic concepts. Okay, the basic concepts. And for me, although we don't have computer linguistics per se, I will just show them on how to use Iron Creek so that they can see some kind of they can have the feel and a bit prologue, simple prologue where you can see the predicate and for syntax predicate. And then you have argument 1, argument 2. Just a simple language. I again, like I said, I feel prologue with Dr. Zahra, but I still remember the simple language. So just to produce ayat Ali makan nasi from blah 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 lah, that kind of stuff. Okay, but at the end of the day, whether we why are we having echo? It's all right. At the end of the day, you still you need to have you have to know all the concepts in all the subfields of linguistics and the theoretical framework. That's the only way to go. Sorry, there's other echo. Why? Okay.
It's okay.
Masih ada echo?
Mungkin ada suara dari peserta yang masuk itu.
Okay.
Para peserta yang kami hormati, berdasarkan rundown yang diberikan kepada kami, selesai kita dari sesi yang pertama, kemudian kita masih punya waktu 30 menit ke depan untuk masuk kepada sesi yang kedua. Maka di sesi yang kedua ini kami persilahkan kembali kepada peserta bila ada yang langsung ingin bertanya, menuliskan pertanyaannya di kolom chat kita. Kami buka kesempatan kepada para peserta yang ingin langsung bertanya kepada narasumber kita, Dr. Radiah Yusuf.
Halo.
Hello. Bagaimana?
Sejauh ini
perkenalkan saya dari
hello. Bagaimana? Ada
NTT.
Those who are not speaking, can we mute ourselves?
Oke, silakan Bapak Rudolf dari Kupang. Silakan Pak.
Ya, terima kasih Pak. Wah. Halo.
Hello, boleh dengar Pak? Hello, boleh dengar Pak?
Sudah hilang nih. Sebentar Pak.
Bapak ada, kami dengar.
Sebentar, ini ada masalah dengan jaringan, jadi saya harus ulang lagi. Oke, sudah Bu. Saya mau bertanya kepada Ibu terkait dengan apa yang disampaikan oleh Ibu tentang fonologi dengan fonetik. Apakah dalam teori X-bar kita bisa deskripsikan semua argumen atau penjelasan teori X-bar itu ke fonetik atau tidak? Halo Ibu.
Bapak tanya tentang bidang fonetik fonologi ke?
Yes.
Saya minta maaf. Kalau fonetik fonologi, memang saya pun masih belajar lagi, bukan bidang saya. Tapi saya belum jumpa lagi mereka menggunakan X-bar dalam mungkin saya tak habis belajar lah. Saya belum pernah jumpa X-bar diterapkan untuk fonetik fonologi. Yang saya dengar optimality, yes. Kalau macam Prof Madya Dr. Tajul, beliau ialah dengan autosemintal dan sebagainya. Tapi X-bar saya belum pernah lihat. Saya hanya setakat ini yang saya tengok X-bar hanya untuk morfologi dan juga sinteks, dan morfologi pun hanya Prof Selkirk saja, sebab orang lain tak ada melihat aspek morfologi menggunakan X-bar. So saya dari situ saya minta maaf. Betul ke soalannya? Saya salah faham.
Ya, seperti itu Bu. Lalu misalnya di morfologi itu kan ada proses afiksasi. Kemudian misalnya dalam kita kaitkan dengan pola kognisi yang kemudian
yang saya jumpa kalau dalam computational linguistics, mereka tak melihat cari artikel tulis oleh Dr. Bali, kalau saya itu saya pass pada Dr. Tira, nanti Dr. Tira passkan kepada sekretariat. Mereka hanya melihat dari aspek morfografimik. Saya belum pernah jumpa lagi. Mungkin saya macam saya kata saya tak cukup membaca. Saya belum pernah jumpa lagi dalam konteks Malaysia yang melihat dari aspek morfophonology. Yang saya jumpa ialah morfografimik. So Dr. Bali dan teman-teman beliau menggunakan tata bahasa dewan dan hanya menunjukkan betul-betul ikut tata bahasa dewan. Jadi contohnya kalau affix MEN itu ya, the prefix MEN, huruf besar itu, so beliau akan beri rumus yang MEN akan jadi MENG, MEE, jadi bila berjumpa dengan perkataan root word yang mula dengan huruf, but not morphophonology. Again, so saya kena baca banyak lagi tentang ni. Cuma saya jumpa satu is they did a program on syllable. Unfortunately, the syllable is based on tata bahasa dewan. Again, yang to make saya confused. I got confused because if you do syllable, like you said, it's quite tough because with when you do spoken language, like bahasa Melayu, bahasa Indonesia. Okay, contoh paling mudah is like the word mengapa. Okay, where is your breakdown of syllable? Are you going to put the meng? The meng there? Mengapa or mengapa? Is that the meh and the the first syllable, and then ngeh
Apa?
and second one, and pe and up. Because if I were to follow exactly tata bahasa dewan, Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, sebutan bahasa Melayu baku adalah berdasarkan ejaan, and then knowing that the affix ME capital N, okay, the affix the morpheme is MEN again, then I would have to say apa, which is very fake Malay to me in terms of pronunciation. So again, for that one, I kind of question this particular group of writers and also scientists, because how can you split the syllables according to grapheme? Because when we speak, although we have the meng apa, but when we speak, we never say meng apa. We always say mengapa or mengapa in Indonesia, I guess. So, like I said, when it comes to phonetics, phonology, and also morphology, grapheme, where do you split the syllable, the suku kata? Again, I think they have to they have to really figure out: do you follow the pronunciation or do you follow the rules based on grapheme? Okay, so that will be very interesting. You can do that in Indonesia. Just ask the computer scientists. So whether you want to follow meng apa or mengapa. So where is the syllable? The syllable is based on writing, or the syllable is based on pronunciation. Okay, I hope I managed to answer your question. Sorry.
Oke, Bu, terima kasih. Memang kami bahasa-bahasa di Pulau Timur itu kan karena kebetulan berbatasan dengan lingua franca yang dipengaruhi oleh bahasa Portu. Jadi ada bahasa-bahasa pinjaman yang kemudian itu apakah kita memproses ke ether X bar, itu kan ada kita kenal di hall itu kan input output.
Ya
kan?
Oh ya.
Lalu misalnya
mungkin
kita
boleh.
kirim ke X bar, apakah valid atau tidak? Gitu.
Mungkin boleh. Sebab saya rasa kalau mereka from computer science tu, insyaAllah kalau kita beri input, macam saya berikan kepada Dr. Tang dan rakan-rakan beliau, mereka akan cuba. Because pada mereka, saya ingat lagi apa Dr. Tang kata, at the end of the day, I just want to see the output. I don't care what you guys in linguistics tell me. So just give us whatever you want, and we'll try to cater to what you want. So rasanya kalau macam bapa gunakan X-bar untuk phonetics phonology, okay, seperti Selkirk buat untuk morphology, mungkin cuba gaya bincang with the people in computer science. Mana tahu, that would be great, that would be great for me lah, because when you can do that, wow, kan, to me sesuatu yang baru. But yeah, go ahead and do. Discuss with them, give as much input as possible to them.
Oke, Bu, terima kasih.
Baiklah, terima kasih Pak Rudolf dari Kupang atas pertanyaannya.
Nanti salam hormat buat Pak ada senior saya di situ Pak Samsul. Semantik.
Oh.
Orang semantik.
Baik Pak Rudok.
Ya.
Terima kasih Pak Rudok.
Terima kasih.
Salam buatkan.
Sama-sama Pak. Sama-sama Pak.
Dr. Rodia Yusuf.
Pak Rahmat sah. Bisa Pak Rahmat sah.
Oh. Ya silakan.
Maaf Pak, saya tak dengar Pak Rahmat cakap.
Silakan Profesor Khairina.
Bisa Pak Rahmat sah.
Tak dengar.
Ya, silakan Prof. Khairina.
Ya. Assalamualaikum Ibu Rodia. Ibu Rodia, assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah. I'm interested in your lecture today. Yeah, when you talk about passive and active voice, I just want to know the first, when do we use active voice and when do we use passive voice? And the second, what is the essence of active and passive voice? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you mean use it in a sentence or use it? Oh, okay. Okay,
when do we use active voice and when do we use passive voice?
In terms of stylistics, in terms of stylistic, or in terms of.
I think it is in terms of sentence.
For me, that is a big question in terms of. For me, that is is echoing. Saya tak dengar.
Just put it in sense of sentence.
Saya dengar balik suara saya.
Dengar Ibu.
Is that can
tolong
those who are
dibantu Pak
not
Rahmat.
speaking, just mute so that I cannot hear. I can hear my voice through your mic. Anyways, okay. Now macam ni. Saya tak. I cannot have a direct proper answer for your question because, like I said, it would depend on the genre. It would depends on a lot of stuff when it comes to when to use the active and passive sentence. Because if you were to write, for example, if you see the doctors, most of them, the people in science, quite a number of them would use passive sentence rather than active sentence. Because when you use passive sentence, you will not show yourself. Especially just you will not just just to show that, hey, I'm the one doing it. You tend to hide the agent. So you have to look at the area, look at the genre, look at the whole thing, and active sentence again is the same thing. So it's not really I cannot have a proper black and white answer to your question. It would depend on a lot of stuff on when to use active and when to use passive. And when for the second question, I'm not so sure what you mean, but if I were to use in terms of theoretical perspective, if you were to look at the early generative, it would say that whatever passive comes from the active sentence. However, when you go from X bar and beyond, the active sentence have their own process. The passive sentence have their own process. So is that what you want me to explain to you or to answer, or am I going off like the non-linguist, because I'm like, I think I misunderstand your question. So I'm very sorry, Ibu. Tapi like I said, kalau kita tengok early generative grammar, active would transform to passive, but not in X bar and beyond. Active have their own template, passive have their own template, which is very interesting. Because why I say it's very interesting, because if you were to look at the old classical literature, we can see a lot of passive sentences. And so when we were to say active, like the early TG, when you say active, passive comes from active, when the majority, quite a number, a big chunk of data from the classical, I can say novels, okay, used passive sentence rather than active. So there might be some kind of motivation why the writers or the speakers use passive rather than active. So when X bar and beyond produce some kind of processes for both active separately, active and passive separately, then it makes sense why the old classical Malay literature use passive more than active. So they have their own, like I said, they have their own processes. When before this, they have to depend on active sentence to show that, hey, I'm here as an active sentence. But now, no, active live on their own island, passive live on their own island. Okay, am I answering? I'm so sorry, Ibu, if I'm not answering your question. But the first one is like, I cannot answer you black and white. I have to look at the perspective on the what actually you really want to see on active and passive. Okay, I'm very sorry, Ibu, if I cannot answer your question. If I did answer your question.
Yes, I think you just answered the question, because she wants to know the essence of using active and passive voice. What is the essence of using active and passive voice? So I think you just answer her questions.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
A question from our participant, Dr. Radia Yusuf. What is the difference between root, stem, and base? Could you please?
Oh gosh, I want. Okay, let me share you the experience, because when the first time when I studied for morphology, when I want to do my PhD, and I was like, oh my God, what did Tata Bahasa Dewan say? What did Nahwu Melayu and Zabah? Because different scholars, they have different definition, different features for what a root, stem, and so forth. So finally, now what I did is that that's the thing that is bad with me, is that I just go and use the English one, especially O'Grady and Katamba and so forth, and say, okay, root for me, root. Okay, let me see. I hope. Okay, root. Okay, if I were to have the word melompat, easier, right? Melompat. So the root and the base would be lompat, and then affix would be the MEN huruf besar according to Tata Bahasa Dewan lah. And then, however, okay, this is a descriptive grammar. If I were to have mempersembahkan, okay, which is there are so many hierarchies, so many levels. So if I were to have mempersembahkan, the root would be sembah, the base, okay, depending on your interpretation, because Asmah would have mempersembah, and then you go to Prof. Abdullah Hassan, you have persembahkan. Like I said, again, all these scholars, you know, you have to really read them and then see. Okay, when it comes to STEM, honestly, I have problem with that, because I have to, I don't, because when you read Katamba says this. When you go to O'Grady says that. So they themselves are not into what do you call it? They themselves, they have their own ways of what a stem is and what but one thing, root, yes, stem and so forth. So you have to look at you cannot, like, again, like I said, I cannot go straight to one person. I have to really look at based on what scholar and based on what school. And then when I were to go, when I would, if you read Selkirk, is even worse, because Selkirk use X bar. So lagi, okay, different than what O'Grady and so, because Selkirk would have all this hate and so forth. And then when you read Jensen, is something else. So there is no one perfect definition. You have to really read as many books as possible, as many articles as possible, and then you come into this decision and decide which one you want to use for your own work, so for your own working terminology. So again, in that sense, I'm very sorry, I cannot give you what a root, what a stem, and what a direct apa ini black and white definition of what a root, what a stem, and what a base is. But you can read O'Grady, Katamba. Okay, and if you read Selkirk, smile. You can also read Jensen, the old one. Okay, you can read Jensen, because, like I said, Selkirk use a different, totally different theoretical framework than what Jensen is. Jensen uses. So again, or even Katamba. Okay, Katamba, I got a big headache reading his book. So I'm sorry, I cannot answer I cannot give you the black and white. So and I might even be giving you the wrong or the what definition that you do not agree with. So okay, so that's what we call a mazhab, kan, a different school of thought. Either the general morphology and syntax, and also what happens in our respective country. So boleh ke Pak? Macam tu lah.
Boleh. Pertanyaan yang lumayan complicated, Dr. Rodia, ya. Different scholar have different opinion on stem, root, and base.
Oh yes.
Baiklah para peserta.
Bapak jangan lupa bagi tahu kena baca juga Naida. Naida kan ada lain. Okay, Yuji Naida.
Ya. Baiklah para peserta yang kami hormati, kita masih ada waktu sekitar 15 menit lagi sebelum Ibu Dr. Rodia Yusuf memberikan concluding remarks-nya. Maka kami persilahkan kepada para peserta yang ingin langsung memberikan pertanyaan kepada narasumber kita, Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Kami persilahkan.
Saya rasa interesting, narasumber. What does nara refer to?
Narasumber.
Okay, I know sumber, but what is nara?
Mungkin Dr. Mulyadi bisa memberikan.
Perkongsian ilmu, kita saling tukar.
Bahasa Inggris narasumber itu informan.
Okay.
Informan.
Itulah Pak, orang Indonesia kena tahu orang Malaysia punya istilah, macam saya orang Malaysia kena tahu apa orang Indonesia punya.
Bahasa Inggrisnya informan ya.
Informan. Okay. Okay.
Itu sama Dr. Rodia Yusuf ketika saya baca CV tertulis pensarah kanan. Di Indonesia maksudnya apa itu pensarah kanan?
Sini lecturer, not bawa associate professor. You have the professor emeritus, and then you have the professor, and then you have the professor. I'm like way down the rank.
Kalau ada pensarah kanan, apa ada pensarah kiri?
Pasti ada pensarah kiri, Pak. Lawak saja sebab ya ramai orang juga yang bertanya, bukan kata di Indonesia. Kalau ada pensarah kanan, pasti ada pensarah kiri, kan? Terlupa juga lah Profesor Madia tu macam kan, kalau profesor kurang masak, adakah profesor cukup masak?
Dr. Ahmad Syah.
Ya, silakan.
Saya hanya ingin menanyakan secara umum saja pada Dr. Radia Yusuf. Bagaimana minat mahasiswa ataupun student di USM terhadap kajian morfologi sintaktik? Karena ini sesuatu yang menakutkan, complicated. Kira-kira bagaimana minat student di sana? Dr. Tira. Sebenarnya memang tak dinafikan, sangat-sangat menakutkan. Kalau melihat daripada kalau undergraduate mereka tak ada pilihan, kan? Paksa rela suka. They don't have a choice, so they have to like it. Whether like it. Belakang kita tu tak kisahlah whether like, oh my god, why do I have to do morphology, syntax, blah blah blah, especially when it comes to theory. Aduh, lagi sakit, kan? And then you have all these different scholars. Yeah, it's not something that you like, but you have to force yourself to like it. And I think the students, the undergraduates, they force themselves to like, quote unquote. Okay, when it comes to PhD and master's student, you can count not even this will do morphology and syntax, most likely because of generative grammar. But a lot of them would go into pragmatics, would go into not many semantics, because again, when it comes to semantics, previously we tend to go into generative semantics, all this logic with all this formula and so forth. But a lot of phonetics, a lot of sociolinguistics, and when Dr. Tajul was the lecturer in our department, a lot phonology. So I think like I said, generative grammar turn off quite a lot of the students from doing syntax and morphology. However, when they are students who did the studies, they really did a good one. So we had students doing minimalism, quite a number doing minimalism under the former lecturer Puan Solakia, and I think with Dr. Nur Sofia in and with Dr.
Tolong host.
Unmute. Unmute, please.
Oh, okay. They unmute sendiri ya. Oh, this is scary. Okay, I hope there's nothing new. Okay. So we have Dr. Rosaida, Dr. Jong Hu Ying, and Dr. Nur Sofia, who use generative grammar, X-bar and so forth until minimalism to work on people under what you call it, what is it, neurolinguistics, all this, and SLI, special, what do you call it? What is something linguistics? Oh my God, I forgot the term. It's that people with those, they are not so-called normal, quote unquote. So they work with hospitals and so forth, and kids and adults who have problems with language, using what we call this theoretical framework. So besides working with computational linguistics, you can also use our, we can use linguistics to work with those in the what you call special education and also on medicine, and we have a master's in neurolinguistics, not masters, sorry, masters in neuro something, but one of the subject is neurolinguistics. That's not the NLP where you have those for the motivation, but this is neurolinguistics, where you look you use subjects who have problem in the brain and so forth, and they look at and like psycholinguistics and so forth. So yeah, you can do that. Okay.
Dr. Radia, if I may ask you a question, while doing this morphology and syntactical knowledge in computational linguistics, what are the problems that you face, and how did you overcome those problems?
That's the thing. Okay, I don't think we can ever overcome the problem, because like I said, it's quite tough. It's not quite, it's very tough to do something with language, human language, to produce something that replicate the exact nature of human language. It's very tough. Like I said, just a simple one. When you want to do topicalization itself, you explain to them this is topicalization. It involves this and so forth. At the end of the day, they just say, okay, can you just draw? Can you just, do we need all this transformation? Can we just say, okay, that's it. The sentence is like that. There's no topicalization, whatever. And then when you look from their perspective, in a sense, yes, why do we have all this problem, trouble looking at inilah processes, active, passive, all they want is that, okay, what I can see is that a lot of them, they prefer just the surface structure. They don't care, like generative, looking at the deep structure. So is it for them? Is it just waste of time? Kayu sudah keras, so that's it. I don't care whether it's menjadi or not, but it's good for them if they have the knowledge. So they understand why we in language look like we have this, we interpret like this. One person, person one, individual one, interpret like this. Individual two, interpret this. So they have to. I think it's good if they have all this information. Am I answering?
Thank you very much, Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Dear participants, we have another 5 minutes. If you may have, if you still have questions, you are please. Ada 5 menit lagi waktu kita. sebelum Dr. Rodia Yusuf memberikan closing remarks-nya, kami
Saya pikir sudah cukup lah, Dokter. Ya.
Baiklah. Para peserta kuliah umum yang kedua yang kami hormati, maka dengan demikian kami persilahkan kepada Dr. Rodia Yusuf untuk memberikan closing remarks atau concluding remarks sebelum kita menutup kuliah seminar yang kedua ini. Dr. Rodia Yusuf, you may give us your closing remarks or concluding remarks, please.
Okay. I think first and foremost, before I forget, I tend to forget. I really have to say thank you so much for inviting me, and also for taking your time to listen and to participate in this program. The concluding, when it comes to linguistics, I hope that we don't look at we don't work in isolation. Try as much as possible to bridge our area and some other areas, like I said, besides computer, we have medicine, and then of course education. They really need our input to try to understand what really happens, not just what really happens, what kind of program that you can propose to the subjects, like for computational linguistics. They can produce. We have seen so many things for translation, and also in terms of medicine, what they can do with our brain and so forth, our input. So, but and when I say when we work, we have to understand their part. So and we have to be really patient. All of us, we have to be really patient in understanding, in learning, and in working together with the non-linguists. Okay, and I hope USU and those from other universities, if you are here, just go to your engineering department, just go to your computer department, or even your school of medicine, and try to figure out and work and see what we can help them for the benefit of the people around us. So that is my concluding remarks. And another thing is that no matter how hard linguistic is, sabar, belajar sajalah. Sampai sekarang pun masih belajar lagi. So you have to be very patient, and you have to read a lot. That's the thing. Okay, so thank you so much again. Kamsahamnida, syukran, sia-sia, Nandra.
Terima kasih Dr. Rodia Yusuf. Thank you very much. Syukron. Para peserta yang kami hormati, maka sampailah kita di ujung acara kuliah umum seri yang kedua ini. We would like to thank you, Dr. Rodia Yusuf, for such a thoughtful experience that we have today. Once again, we thank you. Dan untuk itu, mari sama-sama kita memberikan aplaus kepada Dr. Rodia Yusuf atas ilmu yang dibagi pada kesempatan ini. Mudah-mudahan Dr. Rodia Yusuf, we have time to meet again untuk berdiskusi kembali, berbagi ilmu kembali tentang morfologi, sintaktik, dan computational linguistik. Terima kasih kami juga kepada program studi S2 yang telah memberikan kepercayaan kepada kami untuk menjadi moderator pada kegiatan kali ini. Terima kasih juga kepada Ketua Program Studi Linguistik S2 yang juga telah memberikan kehormatan kepada kami menjadi moderator pada pagi hari ini. Untuk rekan kami Dr. Mulyadi, Sekretaris S3 Linguistik, terima kasih juga atas kepercayaannya. Mudah-mudahan apa yang kita laksanakan pada hari ini, apatah lagi ini di bulan suci Ramadan, menjadi amal ibadah sekaligus menambah ilmu kita. Sehingga mudah-mudahan apa yang kita dapatkan pada hari ini mendapatkan berkah dan ridho dari Tuhan Yang Maha Esa. Sebagai moderator, kami tutup kuliah umum yang kedua ini, dan selanjutnya kami serahkan kembali acara ini kepada pembawa acara. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah, nasrun minallah wa fathun qarib wa basyiril mu'minin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada moderator Bapak Rahmat Syah Rangkuti, MA PhD, serta tak lupa pula kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada pembicara pada kuliah umum seri 2 pagi hari ini, Ibu Dr. Radia Yusof dari University Science of Malaysia, atas waktu dan ilmu yang bermanfaat dan yang telah disampaikan pada hari ini. Acara terakhir, kata sambutan penutup oleh Sekretaris Program Studi Magister Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara, kepada Ibu Dr. Tengku Tirhayazen, MA, kami persilakan dengan segala hormat.
Terima kasih pembawa acara. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah kita panjatkan kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala karena hingga siang hari ini para peserta masih tetap berada di ruang Zoom, masih 171 orang. Terima kasih banyak kepada para peserta dan juga kepada yang terhormat Dr. Radiah Yusof selaku pembicara pada pagi hari ini hingga siang hari ini, dan yang terhormat Bapak Rahmat Syah PhD selaku moderator yang telah membantu acara ini dengan sangat baik, dan yang terhormat Bapak Dr. Mulyadi, Sekretaris Program Studi Doktor Linguistik, dan juga para profesor, para dosen, pensyarah, dan para mahasiswa yang kami sayangi. My thanks go to Dr. Radiah Yusof from University Science of Malaysia, who has delivered a public lecture entitled Morphological Syntactic Knowledge and Its Contributions to Computational Linguistic. Jadi Bapak, Ibu, dan para mahasiswa, kita telah mendengarkan bersama-sama bahwa morfologi merupakan ilmu yang memiliki keterkaitan dengan berbagai disiplin ilmu lain yang masih berada di dalam ruang lingkup kajian linguistik seperti fonologi, sintaksis, semantik, ataupun leksikologi. Nah, oleh karena itu dalam konteks bahasa Melayu dan bahasa Indonesia, penguasaan morfologi ini merupakan salah satu syarat mutlak penguasaan tataran kebahasaan yang lebih luas lagi seperti penguasaan sintaksis, wacana, dan di sisi lain penguasaan morfologi bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Melayu ini sangat tergantung pada pertimbangan-pertimbangan sintaksis maupun pertimbangan fonologis dan lainnya. Jadi dengan demikian, mudah-mudahan kuliah umum ini akan memberi pengetahuan dan wawasan para mahasiswa, khususnya program studi linguistik tentang sintaksis, syntactic morphology, dan kontribusinya terhadap linguistik komputasional dan ilmu lain, dan disiplin ilmu lain. Dan harapan kami muncul ketertarikan untuk mengangkat kajian morfologi. Hopefully postgraduate students of linguistic department in USU are interested in choosing morphological studies as their thesis. Dengan adanya kerjasama Universitas Sumatera Utara dengan Universitas Sains Malaysia, mudah-mudahan kuliah tentang morfologi dan kuliah-kuliah yang lain dapat dilaksanakan dan diskusi akan lebih dalam lagi with the collaborations within USU and USM. Hopefully lectures on morphology can be continued and deeper discussions can be realized. Itu harapan kami, ya, Dr. Radiah Yusof. Mudah-mudahan ini pembuka jalan ya untuk program studi linguistik. Selanjutnya kita akan membincangkan hal-hal apa saja yang bisa kita jadikan sebagai mimbar akademik dari kedua universitas ini, khususnya program studi linguistik. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dan selamat berpuasa.
Selamat berpuasa. Selamat berpuasa, selamat berbuka.
Iya, selamat berbuka.
Ini masih pukul 12.
Bu Dr. Radiah. Bu Dr. Radiah, ini mau saya tanya sedikit nih. Di USM ada dosen namanya Ibu Sa'diah ya? Nggak tahu. Dia alumni S1 dari sastra Indonesia.
Oh.
Saya dengar dia dosen di USM, di program studi ilmu kemanusiaan juga. Cuman saya nggak tahu dokternya kalau nggak salah dari Inggris atau dari mana itu.
Kalau Sa'diyah tu tak ada, tapi tak tahu mungkin school lain, mungkin bukan di School of Humanities. Jadi mungkin di school lain.
Iya. Dia alumni S1 dari USU.
Oh, okey. School lain saya rasa. Mungkin sekolah jarak jauh. Dekat jarak jauh ataupun kan saya tak
Sama dengan Nurdin.
Nurdin mana ni? Nurdin mana?
Nurdin bahasa dan penterjemahan.
Oh, itu. Nurdin di school di pusat yang tadi tu, yang solat, pusat bahasa
dan penterjemahan.
Language
iya, dia kan S1 dari USU juga kan gitu ya.
Ya. Betul. Mungkin
ada beberapa warga Malaysia yang kuliah di USU dan jadi dosen di USM itu, makanya
yang saya tahu bukan Dr. Nazaruddin school lain yang sejarah tu Dr. Nazar.
Oh ya.
Dr. Nazaruddin saya tak pasti. Dr. Nazar bukan USU ya.
Bukan.
Okey. Mungkin ke depan bisa kolaborasi nih ya Dr. Nadia menulis artikel tentang sintaksis.
Boleh saja. Insya-Allah kami di USM sentiasa buka, tapi ada lagi pensyarah macam saya kata tadi, Dr. Hasmida, Dr. Rozaida, Dr. Nur Sofia, sebab Dr. Nur Sofia, Dr. Puan Nurhaniza, phonetics phonology Puan Nurhaniza, morphology syntax kita ada Dr. Hasmida, Dr. Nur Sofia, dan juga Dr. Jong Huying. Kemudian kalau psycholinguistics yang involved dengan bidang brain and so forth tu is Dr. Rozaida. Ya, dia orang memang buat kaji yang brain tu. Neurolinguistic. Yang tu lagi scary. You look dekat brain sampai saya tak boleh tidur because tengok orang tinggal sebelah. Dr. Rozaida and Dr. Jong Huying, and dia orang lagi satu they got music pun dimasukkan untuk kajian dalam linguistik, very interesting. And then siapa lagi, Dr. Khaidi yang kalau yang tanya kenapa mendakwa tu kena tanya Dr. Khaidi bukan saya. Saya ni saya tak tahu apa benda, saya main dan pentingnya saya suka membaca, dan bila saya tengok morphology quite interesting, dan bila saya tengok what happens dengan komputer, linguistik berkomputer kalau dekat Malaysia ni istilahnya, ataupun computational linguistics, then that's the thing yang menyebabkan saya like, okay, I think we should work something. So you guys can work. Hopefully adalah pelajar yang dalam morphology atau syntax yang go and work with science computer dekat USU kan. Produce a thesis, PMA ke PhD, and don't ever give up.
Ilmu pening.
Never ever give up. Because
ilmu pening Kak Odi.
Ya?
Ilmu pening.
Memang pening, tahu pada pening. Tapi buat aja, jangan putus asa kan. Tapi sesuatu yang pada Kak Odi lah. Mawar ke ni Mawar?
Iya. Tengokkan semua Kak tu.
Tengok betul nak jumpa. Jadi buat sesuatu yang dengan saya rasanya ada medical School of Medicine kan, ada bidang kedoktor yang kesihatan ataupun medicine ada dekat USU kan, produce doctors. Kerja brain apa tu, morphology, syntax, semantics, very interesting. Semantics lagi satu, pragmatics. You work dengan orang yang dalam bidang perubatan untuk check, especially yang involved dengan brain, and then eye tracking. Kita tengok eye tracking macam mana nak using X bar and using generative grammar lah untuk see how kita track when you trigger word. So it's very interesting. It's not just computational linguistics. You go into
okay. Projek buat projek dengan Pak Mulyadi.
Suruhlah belajar kat sana.
Semangat Kak Odi tu nak semangat kita semua.
Luar biasa semangatnya ya.
Research collaboration. Okay.
Kak Odi tak boleh terbang dekat medan tu. So kau bagi semangat dari jauh dekat.
Cepat kali berbicara Dr. Nadia ini, susah diikuti ya.
Semangat akak tu tak habis lagi.
Sirah boleh.
Habis.
Tak ada masalah. Boleh kan. And then you boleh gabung juga music. Apa jadi kalau music dengan kalau baca Quran kan, kita baca Quran tu apa berlaku dekat brain? That is psycholinguistics. And then you look from morphological aspect, you look from pragmatic aspect, semantic aspect, using linguistics theoretical framework. But you work with the people in medicine, people in music. Untuk terapi lah. Itu sajalah.
Nantilah buat projek.
InsyaAllah lah Kak Odi nak baca tesis daripada
ya.
USU kan. Nak baca tesis pelajar USU.
Research project. Betul ni Kak Odi ya?
Kak Odi.
Kak Odi bagi idea aja. You guys.
Ini namanya ilmu tolak bala ini Mutiara.
Okey, terima kasih Kak Odi. Thank you so much Kak Odi. Silakan Syaira.
InsyaAllah kalau dah habis pandemik ni, orang di Malaysia boleh melawat orang dekat Indonesia, dekat Medan, orang Medan berdatang ke Penang kan. InsyaAllah lah, semua selamat. InsyaAllah kalau doa juga semua yang dekat USU tu ya, dekat Medan semua selamat lah, jaga diri elok-elok.
InsyaAllah.
Make sure pakai face mask, sanitizer, bawa lah 2-3 botol ya.
Terima kasih Kak Odi.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak sudi jumpa Kak Odi. Nah, terlebih kurang minta maaf lah ya sebab
belum ditutup ini doktor. Belum ditutup, bentar lagi dah ditutup.
Oh ya ke? Oh, ingat dah tutup.
Silakan ya. Silakan Syaira.
Oh my god.
Terima kasih kami sampaikan.
Kacau protokol. Sorry. Pengacara majlis. Sangat-sangat minta maaf. Ingat dah habis.
Samalah.
Ini masalah bila kawan jumpa kan dia melepaskan rindu lah. Tengok pula mawar lagi geram.
Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Ibu Dr. Tengku Tirhaya Zain MA selaku Sekretaris Program Studi Magister Ilmu Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara atas sambutan penutup untuk mengakhiri acara kita pada hari ini. Serta kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh peserta yang telah setia mengikuti kuliah umum ini dari pagi hingga siang hari ini. Kami atas nama panitia mengucapkan mohon maaf apabila terdapat kekhilafan dan kekurangan dalam penyelenggaraan acara ini. Dan semoga kita dapat bertemu lagi di acara lain dan tentunya diselenggarakan oleh Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Sumatera Utara. Di atas dahan burung tempua, melihat rusa tepi perigi. Salam perpisahan untuk semua, di lain masa bersua lagi. Billahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dr. Rahmat Shah.
Terima kasih ya Pak Mulyadi.
Ini semua gara-gara Tira dengan Mawar ni yang kacau. Kita tak tahu majlis ada lagi. Hai, teruknya.
Rindu tak
minta maaf kepada sekretariat sebab tak ikut protokol. Sorry.
Apa Ibu Doktor?
Pengacara majlis kesian dia. Apa tu patutnya bagi tahu Dr. Odi. Tolong stop, kami belum habis lagi.
Kak Odi. Alhamdulillah senang sangat tengok akak tu semangat tak habis-habis lagi.
Biasalah semangat tu memang kena ada kan.
Akak kena bagi materi dengan pelajar pelajar budaya dengan pelajar prodi Melayu lah. Okey, kena janji tau. Kena janji.
Tak, janji tak ada masalah. Janji tau. Cuma
Pak Rahmat, terima kasih banyak ya Pak Rahmat. Terima kasih banyak.
Kita dah tutup majlis sebelum Tira.
Sangat.
Ya, thank you so much Kak Odi.
Thank you so much Tira.
Terima kasih.
Pak Rahmat semua. Kena bagi tahu Pak Rahmat, tolong carikan Pak Rahmat apa ni? Headphone yang mikrofon yang kuat.
Tak dengar tau.
Kena cari mikrofon kan.
Alah, terima kasih. Bu Hani masih ada juga. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Tira, Bu Mawar. Sampai ketemu Titin ya.
Kawan-kawan lama jadi
sehat-sehat Bu Hani.
Itulah masalah. Yang jumpanya semua kawan lama sampai tak tahu protokol.
Sehat.
Bu Mawar, terima kasih ya.
Ya.
InsyaAllah semua
Indah
sihat
Mawar, terima kasih. Bu Tasnim, terima kasih.
Izin keluar ya Bu Tira, izin keluar.
Kalau udah rindu tak malah kayak gitulah tuh, nggak sadar.
Ya. Tira kena bagi tahu tutup secara paksa. Kalau tidak kita lama kat sini buat bersembang pula. Lepas tu kan kita boleh tukar resepi masakan.
I'm not host. I'm not co-host.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much.
Salam.
Salam ya. Semua love. Sebab kita kan orang K-pop, semua love. Untuk okay, bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Maaf ya Kak.
Maaf, tak pergi.
Seronoknya jumpa kawan lama. Bukan kawan lama lah. Apa Pak?
Gimana Bapak?
Ada di ini.
Linguistik itu mana?
Kenapa Pak? Tapi
Zoom